Hello, everyone. I'm Brian Kelly of the always amazing, life transforming, family restoring, take the world by storming prison entrepreneurship program. We are here today to have our first ever live love-a-thon. That's right. We're going to reach out to our beloved volunteers today and just love on them, love on you. Today, we will celebrate the transformation that happens at PEP. And the people who make that possible, it's you, are difference makers. We are going to have fun today. We're going to celebrate. We're going to reach out to you by phone. We're going to invite some of you to join us live. We're going to hear and tell great stories of inspiration. We are going to dance. Yes, you heard me right. We're going to dance. PEP back of the room style. Look, I know 2020 has been a difficult year. Many have lamented that they wish 2020 could just be over and done with. However, some great things happened this year too. Just on our PEP staff alone, we have had engagements, weddings, babies born, children adopted, houses purchased, businesses launched. There are many great reasons to celebrate 2020. COVID did not get the best of us. It made the best of us rise up. We did not have mission drift at PEP. We experienced mission grip. We want to celebrate that today, so let's dance. Seriously. Oh, you thought you can't dance on Zoom? Allow me to personally prove that otherwise. Brian Kelly, AKA Dorothy, to the back of the room. Wow. I heard that was going to be epic, but I don't know. That might have been epileptic. Edward, what do you think about that? Does that give you inspiration to go to the back of the room yourself?
It inspires me, as you know, that I don't dance real well, but I've been working really hard since the last time we were in prison to do this. So let me show you what I can do because you inspired me, Brian. Brandon, to cue up the music and I'm going to move. There we go.
Uh-oh, wow.
Can you turn it up, Brandon?
I think we shut you down, Edward.
I think so.
Trying to hear that, apparently. But I will tell you this, I have never seen you in this light before. I'm not sure I wanted to.
Wait a minute. I was inspired by you, Brian.
No, I think you were inspired by Selena or somebody. I'm not sure who, but it was certainly not me. Point taken right there. Hello.
Wait, this is my best ear. You know how hard this was? I had to do a bit of Benjamin Button back rowing.
Wow, what a mess. I tell you what, I did get a chuckle out of that video. Thank you, Brandon, for putting that together. I had never seen Edward in that light before, and didn't think I would ever see that. Let's start just talking a little bit about what today's going to look like, and we're going to have some fun today. And this is the first time we've ever done this. There's bound to be a few technical glitches going along, but we're just going to roll with the flow because that's what we do. We innovate, and we're going to have some fun. I opened up today talking about 2020 has been difficult for a lot of us. It's been a strain, it's been a challenge, but it's also been, there's some reasons to celebrate. There's some reasons to dance and laugh and have a good time and recognize that differences have been made too. And so we've got a team who's calling out to our volunteers, just engaging them, loving on them, wishing them happy holidays. And we've got several stories today about PEP and the impact it's made, and some great recollections of what's happened on the inside and the outside. And we're going to talk about what the team's been doing this past year and how we're pivoting and looking forward to the future, how we're addressing the issues that COVID has brought up, and what it's going to look like as we go forward, and how we can get our amazing volunteers back engaged with PEP. And we're going to talk about some successes that we've had. And so it's been a pretty amazing year. I want to talk about some of the people that we've got on the call. Obviously, I've got my Chief Development Officer, Mr. Edward Amaya, who just did his little dance routine that, wow, really set the bar. Edward, share a little bit with us.
Absolutely. First of all, there might be a couple of glitches. Today's about having fun. Brandon, thank you for putting everything together. And since I've been given the mic, you may also need to make sure you pop those reminders up so I know when to be quiet. Brian, it has been a tough year from us with what's going on with the COVID, what's happened in the economy, just social unrest. We've even had some friends that have, unfortunately gone home. And so we want to take a moment and acknowledge that. We also want to take a moment and just thank everybody for their continued support through this tough year. We have thrived in the midst of the challenges. So today, along with what you're talking about, I want to introduce you to a couple of our team members, or we do as we go through today, so that you can meet Allison and talk to everybody else. But this is a time to love on you. And I am speaking to everybody that has been a volunteer, everybody that has given so generously this year. We would not be where we are without you. And my CEO, Mr. Brian Kelly's leadership has been great. Instead of us ending the year with just our shoulder into it, we wanted to take a moment and love every one of you and thank you for your continued support. We're really looking forward to renewed commitment in 2021. And I believe we have a couple of guests coming up, one in about 10 minutes and then one in about 30 minutes from there. So Brandon, what is next on our agenda? Do we want to introduce Allison, or what would you like us to do? Can't hear you. You're on mute.
Brandon,
still on mute.
You're muted. Now it feels like a real Zoom call.
Now it does. That's right. So we're trying to bring a little bit of realism too. There you go, Brandon. You should be off mute. Nope, still can't hear you.
We don't want to hear from you, Brandon.
No, that was enough. So thank you, Brian. You put that on mute for us. Okay, we're going to go with Mr. Mike Watts now. Is that a thumbs up, Brandon? Okay.
Mike's about to join us.
Okay, guys, Mike Watts is coming in right now.
Excellent.
He's on the panel. There he is.
Hey, look at there.
Mr. Watts.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
How are you doing, Mr. Love Handle?
Fantastic. Doing great. Doing great.
Well, thank you for joining us. You know, Brian and the team, we're all watching you and we have people streaming, and I'd love for you maybe just to give your background, because we think pretty highly of you, but instead of us bragging about it, why don't you just give us a quick background, and Brian and I have a couple questions for you.
Well, you guys are always too kind. For those of you that don't know, my name is Mike Watts, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. I literally eat entrepreneur cereal for breakfast every day just to try to live up to that. I've got 3 consecutive startups all around like new inventions that we try to bring to market to try to hopefully make people's lives better in some way. I've launched weed eater heads and tree stakes, and my latest product, the Love Handle, and now the Love Handle Pro. For anybody who hasn't seen it, it's a smartphone grip and it's got a kickstand and everything. So it allows you to be on a Zoom call hands-free like this, or not drop your phone on the go. So we make all our products here in Houston, and God is our CEO. I'm the janitor. So we just do the best that we can to try to live up to his expectations for us.
Well, thank you for that. You know, Mike, you and I connected a while ago, and your heart has just been for this program. And then we hit COVID, and it's been challenging. Besides you being an entrepreneur working about 100 hours a day, 100 hours a week, just love to get your kind of your input. Why would a serial entrepreneur that has enough to do and a small family and you're a great husband, why would you be concerned about something like this? Why does this matter?
Well, I mean, I think that if we're not trying to make our mark, if we approach business in a selfish mindset, then we're not going to find success, for one. But who doesn't want to leave a great legacy? And you know, entrepreneurship to me is a true passion. It's something that I see as the vehicle for anything to be possible, especially in America. And I think uniquely so with those that are coming post-incarceration, it's a very natural path for them to fulfill the dreams. You know, we've all made mistakes. Every single one of us, needs grace. And so if I can take my, experience and then offer that as a guide or as an example or just as an encouragement to someone to help them believe that it's possible, because it is possible for them to achieve anything that they want, to help them to believe that through hearing my story or testimony or, investing some of my time in there, then that doesn't just affect them, but then eventually, hopefully generations beyond them. And so I see this as just one of the most efficient and effective ways to make a big impact with the limited, like you say, the limited time that is available each day.
Well, one of the questions, and I'd like to turn it over to Brian so he can spend a moment with you. I'm so thankful that Brandon put you on early. And here's why. As an entrepreneur, when you decide to be an entrepreneur, life is easy. Okay, maybe it's not, but I'd love for you to talk about resilience. We're coming through a pretty tough COVID year. As a country, we've had to be incredibly resilient. We've had to be incredibly innovative. And I'd love for you to talk about that important gift that we could develop of resilience and why it matters, especially for our guys, for our volunteers that haven't been been able to go inside yet they continue to support us financially. Can you just talk to me about your greatest gift of resilience and why it matters to everybody?
Well, I would say, Edward, that the resilience is ultimately the defining factor in success, because the way you respond, because things happen, right? No matter what, that people look at me and say, oh, look at all the success. But really, it's just, I never quit. I just kept charging right through. And, we would have issues come our way around product quality or patents or, maybe something in the legal field or personnel issues. It's always something. So I think that if you just approach each day or each situation with the faith that there's a solution to be found, and with perseverance and the willingness to get knocked down a few times. But it's really about not getting knocked down, because that's going to happen, but it's about getting back up. And the quicker and more efficiently you get back up, and the better attitude. And if you just have an attitude that I'm going to learn from what happens to me, I can only control certain things, but I can control myself, and I can control the way I respond and react to situations that life hands me. Then I think ultimately, if you just continue that perseverance in that direction towards seeing obstacles as learning opportunities and then just pushing forward and trying to adapt, then you will find success.
You know, what we really appreciate, and I want to turn this over to Brian, but what we really appreciate about you and other volunteers is you just don't have book knowledge, you have life knowledge. And that's what I love about it, is that you want to pour into our guys your life knowledge, not a book you read and you're really pumped about, but it's life knowledge. It's the blood, sweat, and tears and resilience that everybody needs in life, and especially these guys, because not only do they want to be budding entrepreneurs, but they're re-entering society with a felony, with all these strikes against them. And they have to have the internal fortitude, the internal reason to rise up above that against everything. And that's what entrepreneurship is about. So having you on is such a blessing. Mr. Kelly?
Hey, Mike, it's great to see you, brother. And I was just sitting here thinking as I was listening to you that as a business leader, entrepreneur, we wear many hats, right? And sometimes hats we never thought we would wear as a business leader. So I want you to talk a little bit about, you know, the things that you've encountered as a business owner that, you know, were just, you didn't know anything about. You had to reach out to others. You had to tap into a community or get advice or counsel or mentorship from somebody. I'm sure you've encountered things that were just overwhelming. You didn't know anything about. So let's talk a little bit about your community, how important they were to you, and who are some of the people that have helped make Mike Watts who he is today?
Well, that's a big question, and you know, it's so true that you don't get here on your own. Nobody finds great success without a great network that they have around them. And of course, that first starts with my family. My wife, who's my counsel, I call her the chairman of the board, really, in all of our ventures, and she's the one that tells, you know, because entrepreneurs, a lot of times we have lots of ideas, you know, and not all of them are good. And so, you know, you need someone to sort of bounce those things off of and say, you know, that might have potential, and that's just crazy, Mike, you know. So it helps to have, you know, an iron sharpening iron in that respect. But then outside of your personal network, that's your safe network, you will need skills and abilities that you don't have. No one has all the abilities or skills that they need. And so you will have to rely on others and seek others. And so as you build a team, which inevitably will happen, and as you're put together a business, I think the first thing you need to do is self-reflect on your own weaknesses, like because we all have them. And so just try to address those early and say, you know, like for me, I'm not the most organized person, right? And I'm also have a tendency to do like 90% of a task and leave the last 10% undone. And so I try to find people that have the opposite, have a strength where it's my weakness, and then add those people to my team first to try to create more of a whole. But some of the most, you know, I guess for me, some of the most unique partnerships have been with the inventors. People think that I've invented all these great products that I brought to market, but I haven't invented any of them, none of them. They've all been invented by someone else who was gifted with the ability, this creative mindset to develop cool ideas and turn just a concept or a problem, and then they developed a solution in a way to fix that solution with a material good, but they're not really sure about how to market products or how they would go out and sell or how they would package their products. And so I've been able to partner with those inventors and, you know, make millionaires out of the inventors too along the way, and let them get back into the workshop and allow them to develop the next version, you know, stay in their lane, stay in their focus. And I think the more that we can understand each one of our own strengths and find ways to assemble ourselves towards a common goal where everyone is focused on their strength and getting to stay and where they're most efficient, well, that's the best thing you can do. And if you run to a spot where you just don't know what to do, fortunately, we're blessed to live in a time when there are tons of experts, tons of resources out there, and people want to help one another. I want to help other people. And so that's where I feel like the obligation sort of flips back the other direction, that I want to be a resource for those that don't know, you know, what does a barcode mean? How do you get a barcode for a product? How do you set up EDI to do business with Walmart, or, you know, a million other things that might come up along the way? Or are people going to buy my product at all? How do I determine whether this idea is harebrained, or is it a business? Is it a hobby, or is it a business? And there's a lot of things like that. So I'm really excited to participate in the process and just make myself available You guys have been so encouraging and welcoming, and I just see so much potential. And it feels like it's such a young organization because it's just here in Texas right now. And think about all the lives that could be impacted at scale. So if I can contribute a little bit towards the growth and the vision and the scalability of PEP on a national scale, or who knows beyond that, then by all means, I think that's a great use of my time.
Wow, that's just fantastic, Mike. I think you've just nailed, what it takes to really succeed as an entrepreneur, as a business leader. It takes community. None of us get there alone. We've all got some people who have sowed seeds in our lives. And that's one of the amazing things about PEP is we introduce a brand new community of sharpeners. Iron sharpens iron, and we bring in some sharpeners. I want you to talk a little bit about your experience with Shark Tank. I know that you've been around that, and I think that's kind of a sexy thing for our guys to hear about. So will you tell us a little bit about that? What that experience looked like for you?
Yeah, sure. It's another, I think, example of the fact that just because things don't go the way you think they ought to go, or that you really want them to go, doesn't mean there's not actually a better way. And so just keep your mind and eyes open to it. So my father and I are co-founders of all three businesses, and we went and we just believed that we should be on Shark Tank. From the day that they started airing that, we're like, this is our show. We're destined to be on the carpet there pitching the sharks, and we're going to make a deal. And we had already practiced our pitches, and we picked out which sharks we wanted to do deals with. And so we went to the auditions in Las Vegas at the Consumer Electronics Show, and stood in line, got there 4 a.m. to get in line and get a wristband. And finally we got up there to go meet with the producers, and we pitched our great idea. And, we actually had sales. We weren't some of those guys that come more pre-revenue and get, killed by Mr. Wonderful. But we actually had sales. And so we thought pretty sure we were going to make it on the show. And sure enough, they're like, hey, we like it. We're going to put you through to the second round of the auditions. We didn't know what that meant. So we kind of pushed ahead, and was a video application, a big, long, 100-page document to fill out. And then a few weeks later, we got a rejection letter from them. And they said, you didn't make the cut for the show. And we were pretty downtrodden. We were pretty sad about that. And so we went back the next year, said, well, just maybe 1 hour a year. We need another year of growth to make this happen. So we went, same thing, 4 a.m, standing in line, got into the audition, made it through again. Same result. We got the rejection letter once again. But as fate would have it, we just kept pushing along. And I was sitting there looking at my website because you got to stay in the weeds. If you're an entrepreneur, you got to stay in there and kind of keep your finger on the pulse of what's happening. And I saw an order come across my website from the Shark Group, which sounds a little bit like Shark Tank. So it kind of piqued my interest. I dig a little deeper, and I realized that this is Damon John's company that's ordering products from my business on my website. I was like, well, there you go. Look at that. So I immediately, there's a phone number on the order form. I picked up the phone and I called, and they answered, and I said, hey, this is Mike Watts. I'm the founder of Love Handle. You guys just ordered some love handles, and Damon you guys just placed an order. I'd like to talk to Damon. And I was planning to pitch him right there. And they said, well, no, we can't let you talk to Damon like that. But what we can do is let you send some products in. So I started sampling their office and made some custom ones for his latest book, and for their group, the Shark Group. And I just started trying to build a relationship there. And I didn't ask for anything. I just kept giving and kept giving. And next thing you know, everybody in his office is in love with our product. They're using it every day. He was already using it. And then the phone rings, and it's Damon's team calling saying, hey, I don't know how you did this, but everybody here loves you. Everybody loves your product. And Damon doesn't reach out. He has more deals than he can say grace over, but he really likes you, and he really likes this product, and he'd like to do a deal with you. And so it took a little back and forth, a little creative structuring, but we made a deal. And so I did a deal with Damon John from Shark Tank without ever going on the tank. And it's so much better because now I get treated as part of the family.
Mm-hmm.
I literally just shipped his Christmas gift out yesterday, and I got his today. And it's been he's now my dream mentor is right here, in my circle of influence. And it's just been amazing. I was able to, like, just the other day, my product got shown on Shark Tank because somebody was there pitching a phone accessory, and he pulled out my phone grip and said, "Hey, yeah, your product's okay, but I'll do a deal with Love Handle, and they have one that does even more than yours. So I'm out." So, my product made it on the tank, not the way I thought originally, but I did do a deal with a shark, and I've got to hang out with a bunch of them and learn from them. So it's really been a dream come true. But the lesson here is that, like, none of that would have happened if I hadn't just been patiently persistent and been in the game. So you got to be in the game to score a touchdown. And so just, encourage these guys to get out there and get in the game. You're going to get knocked down. Things aren't going to go your way probably, but they might go a better way. So just keep your mind open to that.
What a great story. You're like a real life celebrity in our midst.
I don't know.
And, I'm going to share something with you. I know you're going to have to go. We've got another interview coming up, but several years ago, I spoke with a group of students at University of North Texas. It was an entrepreneurship class. And I asked the class, I said, "What's an entrepreneur?" And there was crickets, right? I got nothing in response. I said, "Oh no, we're going to engage each other today. So let me ask you again, what's an entrepreneur?" And a little feeble hand in the back raised up, and this young lady said, "An entrepreneur is somebody who sees a problem or a gap in society and sees it as an opportunity to make money or an opportunity to make a difference." You are both of those, my friend. It is a pleasure to have you in the family of PEP, and I could probably interview you forever, but thank you for coming on live with us today and interviewing. I look forward to great things coming out of you going forward.
Thank you, Brian. And you guys are the best. I am at your service. And so just keep up the good fight. You're doing great work over there, and you're changing lives literally. So anything I can do to support that effort, I'm all in.
Thank you, Mike. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year to you and your families. Give our love to them. Yep.
Same back to you guys and yours.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure. Thank you, sir.
See you guys.
That's the kind of day we have.
I'm so inspired by that. Oh my gosh, what a great interview. A great idea.
Absolutely. Well, now we want to introduce, let me look at this. I believe we are going to introduce one of our newest team members, and that is Allison Sheeter. So Allison, if you don't mind taking yourself off of mute, why don't you?
I am off.
All right. Well, welcome to the team. And if you don't mind, why don't you give us like a 30-second overview on how your career path led you here?
Absolutely. So in 30 seconds, I come from the Salvation Army. I did fundraising there for quite some time. And, if I'm being honest, which I think that we all are with each other, I had a family tragedy that happened about 4 years ago. My mom passed away. And in that time, I took a good hard look at the kind of person that I want to be and the kind of difference that I want to make. And I realized that for me, success isn't about how much money I make. It's about the impact that I leave behind me. And I want to leave the world a better place. And over the last few years, I have become so passionate about prison reform and reentry and the hardships that these men face. They're supposed to have left the correction system and be corrected, but they're not given any opportunity to actually be successful. And so over the summer, I told myself in 2020 I'd be moving to Houston, which is funny considering that COVID came to be in 2020. But anyway, it was I think it was really a God thing that I found PEP. Y'all were the only organization who was hiring during such a crazy time. And what a crazy coincidence that your mission aligns so perfectly with something that I have become so passionate about. And so I fully believe in God things. That's what I call them. And finding PEP, it's been a real God thing. And I am so grateful to have a PEP family.
I know Brian will have a question for you, but why don't you share with us real briefly, in the midst of COVID, us expanding our focus, what are you leading for the PEP program? What do you hope to accomplish in 2021?
Absolutely. So I came on board at PEP to lead our foundations and corporate partnerships team, which is really exciting because as we're expanding, we also have so many new opportunities that come our way to really expand and deepen our relationships, our existing relationships with foundations and corporate partners, but also to tap into so many new partnerships. I really feel like the world is our oyster. And for 2021, I'm really excited to explore what that can be like, and also come up with a very fine-tuned corporate strategy. I've noticed that that's a gap. I think that there's a lot of opportunity for us to find great friends and corporations, and I'm excited to get the ball rolling on that.
And before we send you to the back of the room with Al, Brian, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. Allison, it's been a pleasure having you on the team, especially down here in the Houston office. And look, today is going to be about fun, and fun is one of our 10 driving values. As a matter of fact, yes, on that poster behind John, that is the largest font on there. And so, here's your permission to be a little bit politically incorrect. Have joined the PEP team and encountered the Houston office. What are some of the fun things that you've encountered working in the office since you've been here?
Oh, man. Oh, gosh, there are a lot. I want to start off and say, because I would be remiss if I didn't, that working at PEP is fun every day. I've been in nonprofit for a long time, and I feel like you can lose sight so easily of what you're working for. But here at PEP, I am surrounded by the best success stories of all time. You can never lose focus here because I'm surrounded by such incredible men like yourself, Brian. And that makes this place fun. Some fun stories I've had Thanksgiving. Some of my teammates and I, we went and volunteered together, and it was a little bit chaotic, a little bit disorganized because of COVID, but we found ways to make it entertaining. We had our own dance party in the parking lot. It was great. I think that dancing certainly is something that is a commonplace here at PEP, as I'm sure that y'all have all witnessed, and that everybody else who's watching this will witness here shortly. That's been fun too. And, I think that I knew that I was going to love this place the most when I first started. And Brian, you invited me and you invited my boyfriend to come over and meet the team so he could feel comfortable with me working at, at an organization like PEP. And I mean, now you have your biggest fan in Curtis. So everything about this place is so fun. I could go on for forever.
Well, we haven't made Curtis go to the back of the room yet. The key word there. But, we do dance a lot in PEP. And I'll just kind of bring this up when we're on the inside. Anytime somebody gets to speak on the microphone inside an in-prison event, you have to earn that right, and you have to dance to the front of the room. So you start out in the back of the room. I believe we have introduced you to that tradition at PEP, and we can demonstrate that to everybody, right?
Yeah, yes, that is true. That is true. We've got it on video.
Maybe Brandon can help us. Oh, there we go.
Can't hear it, Brandon.
Wow, it froze up.
Yeah, he's going to re-cue that up.
Maybe that was going to be the stop. Hammer time.
Oh, well, Allison, thank you.
That is the dance I wanted to do, but alas.
Well, Allison, we are incredibly happy to have you on the team. You are a perfect fit. Your love and care for your teammates, as well as, and more importantly, for the people we serve and our foundations and individuals. Thank you very much for the way that you represent this organization. And what I am understanding from Brandon is we are going to send you and Al to the back of the room. And then right after that, we are going to have another interview, but we're going to send them to the back of the room before we cue that up. So we're going to have 2 quick back of the room videos when Brandon's ready. Thank you, Allison. Can't hear it, Brandon.
Still no audio.
It's part of the fun. Look at us. None of us are even bothered by it. We're so used to Zoom.
Happens all the time, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Somebody's cat to pounce up here in just a minute.
Yeah, dogs, cats, frozen screens. We've seen it all this year. Okay, well, thank you, Allison. With that, Brian, you and I will do a little bit of fill-in until we see. Okay, we're going to go to John, and we will get Allison. We will not let you and Al get through the day without dancing from the back of the room. But right now, I'm being told that we're going to queue up our next one while we work on some technical issues.
Okay.
And with that, we have a friend of Brian's and mine, a friend of everybody. And for those of you who've ever been into the Cleveland unit, you're going to know this gentleman. He is the life of the party, and he is even trying to get Brian and I to get in and do a pedicure and a manicure. He hasn't gotten that far, but with that, I'd like to introduce our next one if Brandon's ready for him.
Edward, judging from your dance video earlier, I think he's going to get you in for the mani-pedi before he'll get me. It's just.
Sorry, I just went mute. I couldn't hear that. I heard something about I would lose my job if I did a mani-pedi.
I think you heard that. Here we go.
Okay, maybe.
Maybe not.
You know, maybe we just need to do some live dancing. Allison, Al, you may have to do it live here. I think Al's ignoring me now.
I think that Al would love nothing more. He just knows that if we go live, he has no control over the playlist. Might slip something in there.
Well, we'll get through this. Thank you for everybody's patience. We'll get through these technical things. This is all about having fun, right? It's about taking what's put in front of us and we'll go.
Maybe prime the pump with the John Crabb interview. Here we go. We have the man, the myth, the legend on the way to join us right now.
Mr. Crabb is coming on. He'll take his stuff off mute and put on his camera, and we will have the man, the myth, and the legend on. There he is. Oh my heavens. Mr. John Crabb. We were going to introduce you by back of the room, but we're going to get caught up on that. So really.
Did you just get here from a beauty pageant?
Absolutely. I just got out of my mani-pedi.
Uh-oh, he heard us, Brian.
I heard you.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, John, thank you for jumping on with us. You know, everybody loves you. You're the life of the party. I am going to encourage everybody within 100 miles of Houston, when we get back into the Cleveland unit or the Bell unit, to come and meet you and watch you dance down the aisle. But with that, we'd love to get some of your thoughts, some of the things that you love the most about the program, miss the most about the program. And if you don't mind, we have a bunch of time, as long as you can do it in about 6 or 7 seconds. With that, I'm turning it over to you.
Perfect. I was thinking about that. I think there's so many, but the first thing that came to mind was my first graduation, and I didn't know what to expect. I'd been through the program, but I didn't know what graduation looked like. And I'm telling you, when that music started to play, and these guys came in their caps and gowns, and seeing them in the beginning, kind of starry-eyed, not sure what they were doing. And then the confidence and the smiles and seeing the families there, and it was incredible. I mean, tears were flowing down, and I always talk about selling emotion versus logic, and PEP is absolutely one of the best at selling emotion. They do it at the program. They do it on something like this. It's part of your greatness, but maybe you don't realize it. So, that's the first thing that comes to mind in 6 or 7 seconds.
Wonderful. Well, and then I want to turn this over to Mr. Kelly, but obviously you and I have become really, really close, and I appreciate it. You bring a lot of people in, and you go in because your heart. I know your heart. You just care about people. When I'm in town, you want to make sure I'm good. You take me out for something to drink, get a Coke or something like that. But how has this program impacted you, a guy who seems to have no cares in the world? Is it just about you going in and loving on people? Are you getting something out of this too? Is it challenging you?
Well, Absolutely. And I tell the guys, I think I've told everyone on the PEP staff that I believe that I get more inspired than maybe they get inspired. And I try to give all I can, but boy, I get it back in spades. And going into the program is just like candy land for me. I love innovation. I love marketing. I love out of the box thinking. And it just allows me to, be who I am. And I'm known to be a little bit crazy, and I don't have too many inhibitions, and I just feel comfortable just doing it, what it is I do, and wearing a crazy hat like this, and I can just be myself. And there's, in the quote business world, or even in the philanthropic world, there are not a lot of venues where you can just be yourself and not worry about it. And I think the program allows you to do that. And because I get distracted and I have no attention span, I forgot the question.
That's okay. You answered it wonderfully. But speaking of crazy fun hats, I would like to turn it over to Brian. I'm sure he has a question for you too. And lastly, if you can look at your calendar while he's asking the question, Brian is ready before the end of the year to get that at least that pedicure. Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
And I'm proud to be a metrosexual, so I'm okay with that.
Okay.
That was, I think, a setup. I love the human element of what we do, John. So I want to dive into that a little bit more. And I want you to think back to the very first time that you went into an in-prison event. What were you thinking? What was that experience like? Will you take us back there and take us inside of John Craft?
Absolutely. One of my closest friends, John Hunter, is a guy that brought me there. I treasure him, and he set it up perfectly, like I set up with everyone I bring in, is set no expectations. Trust me, it's an experience, period. And there is a little trepidation. Of course, you're coming in and you see the barbed wire, and it's like, okay, I'm going into prison. And we've all seen TV shows about entering, and you go in one thing and you hover, and then the next gate opens, and blah blah blah. So and what I expected, to be. And if we see my video, you'll kind of get where I'm coming from. But anyway, I felt so at home probably in about 2 minutes. And the guys at the desk, Roger and whoever else might have been there, just they make you feel welcome. They smile. They make you feel comfortable. And and advisors do the same thing, especially for new people. So anyway, so I go in, and the beauty is that I walk in there, and all these advisors are there, and I knew like 8 of them that I didn't even know were part of PEP. So that was a thrill. So I already had a community that I knew, and I had a huge community to meet. And I'm going way over 6 to 7 seconds, but I just remember the experience of walking into that gym with the music blaring and people feeling free to high five and hug. And I knew I was in for something special, and I was hooked, period. End of story.
John, I know you also engage a lot of our guys after release, and the mentorship and the engagement continues on. I know you've even built some friendships around that. Can you talk about any of those relationships that have been especially, inspiring for you or impactful for you?
Absolutely. I think of 2, a guy named Devin Gibson. He was known in the prison as John, but he prefers Devin. And he won the competition, and I followed him, and I had so much fun with him. And he was just focused and remembered, what I might have said, and we kept brainstorming on other ideas. And I work with investment bankers, venture capitalists, and his pitch I would have put in front of anybody. I was just so impressed, and I just think we just got to know each other, and I've gotten to know a lot of the guys, and they're just inspiring. And the guy is wickedly smart. And I think one of the things I love to do is I practice in my business. I call it disruptive innovation. the attention spans of the individual are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And how do you get their attention, and how do you make it innovative? And unless you do something different and unlike, the rest of the crowd, you're not going to get viewed, whether it's an email, an envelope, a pitch, whatever. People are going to be thinking about something else. And that's one of the things I guess I try to inspire them to do. And one of the things that we came up with, he had a carpet cleaning business, and we had a lot of fun figuring out ways to do it differently. And we came up with, I always think you have to have a brand and you have to have a tagline, and we came up with spill with confidence. So, I just had more fun. And then I met this other guy through John Hunter, who, Steve Gutterin, who is just a brilliant visionary and entrepreneur. And he had already been out, and I've gotten to know him. And anyway, he's just awesome. And I consider him a very good friend, like I do Devin. And he's actually engaged my company to help him take his HVAC business to the next level. So I just love these guys.
All right.
Well, they love you too, John.
On the spot, who's the best dancer you've seen inside a prison so far?
There's something about African-American guys or women. They just have rhythm like us boring white people. And he's a larger guy, and he is just free spirit. I can't even remember his name, but that guy can move like no one else. And something about that whole natural move ability, I'm jealous of. But I wish I had a name, but that's the guy.
Brian, I'm a little bit
much.
disappointed. I thought he was actually going to say me, but that's okay. We'll take that.
Sorry. No,
not at all. Yeah.
John, thank you so much for coming on with us today. And I wanted to just double check with Brandon and see, have we worked out the technical glitches? Can we show that video clip yet before John leaves us and we invite our next one? See, I just got a message that
Not yet.
So still working on that. John, thank you so much for joining us today. You're awesome. I love your hat. I know you wear that every day, but I just thought I would tell you that today. It's a pleasure.
It makes noise. Can you hear it?
Yeah, I like that.
Awesome.
Merry Christmas, John.
Merry Christmas, all. Thanks, Edward. Thanks, Brian. Thanks, everybody. Allison, you're doing a great job. I remember you were on my porch a week after you joined, and it was like you had been there for 3 years.
Oh, well, you're an easy person to get to love, John. We can't thank you enough.
Well, so are you all. Anyway, thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Bless you, John. Thanks. Next, we got a great friend of mine and somebody that has been an integral part of what we do. He has led the charge for our Houston Advisory Council for a couple of years, and we have just invited him to share an even deeper role. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Mr. Charles Blaine, leader of a lot of policy and politics around the Houston area. Just an incredible guy. Charles, you got your video on, your audio on. You with us yet?
I'm here. Good to see you guys. Oh, well, I can see you. You can't see me yet, I guess.
We're working on that. You must be in a really dark room.
No, what's going on? My camera should be on, but not yet. I don't know what's happening here. Let's see. Oh, there we go.
There you are.
There he is.
How's it
Awesome.
going, guys? Good morning. Well, good afternoon now.
Great to see you. Will you share a little bit about you? Tell us about all of your many things that you're engaged in and how you got to PEP.
Sure. Well, thank you. First of all, I have to say I'm a little upset that I come on after John Crabb and Mike Watts. I mean, goodness, that's both hard acts to follow. But So yeah, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys having me on. As you said, my name is Charles Blaine. I run a group called Urban Reform, and it's a nonprofit I launched going on 2 years now to really focus on local government here in Houston, but increasingly across the state of Texas, and to get folks more involved in what their local governments are doing so that they can be engaged and just be monitoring what their elected officials are doing and pushing for change in their communities. I also do a Sunday show on Fox 26 here in Houston called What's Your Point? We talk about local politics and local, state, and federal politics. So it's an hour-long show. It's pretty fun. And then I just do a couple other things just off on the side when they pop up. So those are the bulk of it.
So look, I'm going to tell you this. I now get up to watch What's Your Point on Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. You have ruined my sleep-in time on Sunday morning. Thanks a lot, but it's so engaging to watch that. And you do a great job. How do you keep up with all those things that are going on in our local politics and state and national?
I mean, it's truly a full-time job. And thank you for giving us that valuable hour. I know how important that Sunday morning sleep is. So thank you for that. But you know, and that's why I do it, because it is hard to stay involved and keep up to date with all that stuff. And for the average person who goes to work most of the days of the week for 6 to 8 hours, and then has, kids to take to soccer practice or this or that or the other, they don't have the luxury of following what all these entities are doing. And so that's why we do it, because it does take a lot of time, and it is a full-time job. And it's really just sitting in a lot of city council and county government and even state government meetings, watching what they do, trying to kind of distill it and boil it down to the important talking points and then pass that along. So it's a lot of watching boring meetings, but I get a kick out of it. So it's fun.
Well, let's boil down and distill PEP a little bit from your perspective. You've been involved for quite a few years and you've been intimately involved. Let's distill PEP. What's the secret ingredients to our special sauce in PEP? Why is PEP important? Why is it relevant?
The secret sauce, every time anybody asks me that, I always say it's the culture in PEP. I mean, truly the culture. I think there's so many organizations that try to do what PEP does, but the culture just isn't there. And when you go in, it's hard to explain until you go in. And, Allison and I went to coffee a few weeks ago and we were talking about this. And every time I talk to somebody about it and I'm telling them about PEP, I could feel it, but I can't explain it. It's hard to verbalize. And it's truly the culture. When you get in there, it's a culture of transformation. It's a culture of kind of like radical acceptance from, the volunteers to the guys in there, and from the guys to the volunteers in there. It's just tearing down those walls and all coming together. And I don't think you can replicate that. I don't think other organizations can replicate that, because it truly is PEP's secret sauce. And that recipe has just been honed over the years. And it's what keeps me coming back. I mean, the second I step in that building, and even now that we don't get to go in, you can feel it ooze out when you're in the office or when you're at the transition homes. It's carried through. And I think that's and for me, that's the biggest part of PEP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Charles, first of all, you know what I think of you. I appreciate you giving us the time. I see you everywhere, whether you're being interviewed by Candace Owens, or you're on the TV, or you're being interviewed on a radio. You're running your own organization. You're dealing with state and federal people, and you have time for us. Not only that, you're our chair of our North Texas Advisory Council, and I appreciate all that. And so what you have to say to me really matters. And what I would love to probably get your perspective on. So when you watch media, when you watch TV, when you watch movies, obviously they're trying to really sensationalize things. And there are a group of people that would love to go in. They're probably being inspired by you, but there's fear. And the other one is a group of people saying, hey, I'd love to go in, but how do I do it? I'm just too busy. You're a guy that can address both of those. Would you talk about it and maybe just distill some of those concerns and challenge people that when we get up back on the inside to come in because it matters?
Yeah, well, talking about the timing first, it is a commitment. There's no doubt about it. But when you go in and you see how much pouring into these guys, what comes out of that while they're in there, what they get immediately, but then even after that, when they're out in the transition homes, and then when you're following them and seeing what they're doing even after that, I've been doing volunteering, I think, with PEP for about 6 years now. And some of the guys have since been out and they have started families and businesses, and they're doing so well. And, it's amazing to think that I even played a small, minuscule role in that. And so the return on investment is totally worth the time. And I really encourage people to take the time out and go in, because you're not going to be able to experience it or really see what makes PEP until you do it. But even if you don't have the time, I mean, there's so many other ways that you guys have increased the availability to volunteer, whether that's, corresponding for the business plan competition or the e-school opportunity. So there's so many other ways that are far less time intensive that people can volunteer for. So I encourage people to get in one way or the other. But I do think there are a lot of folks who do have that fear. And I remember when I started, Jay Wall is the first one who brought me in, and kind of like John said, Jay didn't tell me anything about it. He just said, come to prison. And I was hesitant. I didn't know what to expect, and I was very nervous. But once you got there, you realize that this is unlike anything you've seen on TV, any other program you could have come across, and it is incredibly worth it. And not to mention, you guys do a phenomenal job with selecting the participants for the program. You guys pick people who want to be there, who are going to put in the work, who are truly about changing their lives. And I think that's the difference. A lot of other programs may have more relaxed standards. And so I think when people come in, they truly realize that this is different, and it takes coming in, or at least taking that initial step in getting involved with PEP to even realize the difference there. So I encourage everybody to kind of tear down those walls, put fear aside at least for a day, and try it out. And I bet you won't regret it, because I've been coming back for 6 years now. So
Excellent. Well, I wish John's on the phone. I was going to have him ring a bell to set up something, because we have a very special announcement we'd like to make. But since John's busy and we can't ring our bell right now, maybe Allison has one in her office. But I'm going to turn it over to Brian for a very special announcement. You're on mute, Mr. Kelly.
I was typing and didn't want to interrupt. Man, it's such a pleasure to have you on this call, John. And I think we have seen your passion and also your expertise. And so, you have served us so well for 6 years. We definitely need more people in the family of PEP. So as you know, and we're going to make a little bit more public now, as we have invited you to come on our governing board at PEP and continue the great impact that you have, and maybe even foster that a little bit. So welcome to the governing board of PEP.
Thank you so much. I mean, this is an amazing opportunity. I love this program so much. I told Allison when we met for coffee a couple of weeks, and my family came here to visit a few years back, I made sure they came to PEP for an event day with me. This program is truly a part of me, and I tell everybody about it. And so I'm just really excited to just further my involvement with it and roll up my sleeves and help where I can. So I appreciate you guys extending the offer, and I'm incredibly excited about joining the board.
You're going to be a great value add, my brother, and just not only your policy understanding, your politics, and your mind and your heart. Oh my gosh, it's the trifecta that we get with you. Thank you, and I know you're a busy guy. I know you got things to do today, but I very much appreciate you jumping on a call with us today.
Thank you guys for having me, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the Love-a-thon, and I'll be tuning in and out. So keep it going.
Awesome. Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
See you guys. Have a good one.
Well, we have another friend of mine coming on. Well, a friend of all of ours. Brandon's going to be bringing him in. So, Brian, this is, we're looking to have fun, but these conversations have been inspiring. I mean, if you think about it, and they're coming from so many different walks of life. That's what I love about the program, the people that actually get involved. But here is a friend of mine and a Dallas connection. And I'd like to introduce the world, for those of you who don't know him, to Mr. Marcel. Welcome to the call. You're there, you are.
Yeah, which Marcel, Edward? What's his last name?
Sorry about that.
Now, yuck.
Yeah,
good job, Brian.
I was about to say that, but he jumped in. Did you see that? He's hogging the mic.
Well, I will tell you, being raised in Texas with that type of a name makes it pretty challenging. So yeah. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. And I've actually, it was kind of cool. I got to jump in when, let's see, it was a Mike. Yeah, Mike, was it Watts?
Mike Watts, yeah.
Yeah, when he was on, and I got to listen to him and Allison, and then was it John and Charles, writing these guys' name down because, and I know you're supposed to ask me questions I was supposed to answer instead of me just jumping in. But I will tell you, the one thing that I get out of all these guys in the program is the energy. From each one of those. And it's kind of like listening to them, and I almost feel like I'm low energy sometimes compared to them. So it's been enjoyable. I've learned a lot from these guys.
Well, I've learned to really appreciate you, and you're not low energy, and you've also been both a successful business person, but also a successful father and husband. You know, I know your son, one of your children and stuff. I'd love to just give a background, if you don't mind, or give us a little bit of background, because I'm trying to really encourage people who are watching, not just our participants, but also people who may be interested in coming in. I want them to see that there's just such a diversity in background. You don't have to come from a specific background, but you do need to come from a place that you have something to offer. So share that with us.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because the one thing I like to say is that never been in prison a day in my life until this program. You know, so I'm one of those guys. Now I've had family members that have been in jail for a period of time, you know, unfortunately, like many. But yeah, I'm on the other side. I mean, I kind of think about what relates me with them sometimes and everything. And, you know, from the very first experience when you go in there, as long as you're relational, you can relate to all these guys, you know, no matter what you're standing in business and life. And thanks for saying I'm fairly successful. I always like to say, you know, marginally successful. I tell my wife that, you know. But yeah, I've been married for 30 years now. I mean, quick background: I lived in the Dallas area for you know, most of my life. Grew up here, came back here. You know, and one of the blessings I've had is being able to, you know, I think you guys have met Blair, you know, my son, and yeah, he's 29, and he had the opportunity to come to a couple events. You know, I mean, the events themselves are obviously high points, but when you're able to share something like that with your son, and you know, something that's meaningful outside of just, you know, the day-to-day work, but showing that, you know, hey, you know, you can make a difference also, you know, even at your young age. In fact, they might even listen to you a little bit more than they listen to me, because, you know, unfortunately, a lot of these guys maybe are in that age group also, you know, that mid to late 20s and stuff, you know. So I've tried to get, one of these days, I'm going to get my daughter into the program. And yes, you've had a chance to, I think, communicate with her husband, David. You know, he's also doing, you know, he's worked with a nonprofit called Mercy Street in the area. I want to drag him into prison when we get a chance, you know. So that's, I'd say that's generally the family. I mean, a lot of it, I'd like to say, is like fairly boring, you know. I mean, but, you know, this program is something that I like to introduce to everybody, and we always talk about it when we get together.
Well, the reason I wanted to bring that up, because we've had some conversations, but it is really about, there's one story, and I'll be brief with this, that somebody told me, a very successful gentleman. And he said, you know, we do a lot to tell our children where to go for college and how to think about that, but how do we teach them? How do we pass on our values other than just taking people to church? And he said, truly, it's living out our values when we go inside a prison, when we do things for the community, and making sure that our children get to observe how we actually give back. And that's what I wanted you to kind of share here, is that you do that. Your family gets to observe that. Maybe your daughter hasn't been in yet, but you're inviting them. You're trying to pass on a legacy of giving. In addition to being a good husband, a good dad, and a successful business person, or as you said, marginally successful, you're a successful business person. You're trying to live out a life that encourages your children. So thank you for that. Mr. Kelly?
Brian, I need to talk to Edward more. He really, he builds me up. I feel like I'm doing a pretty good job.
Well, you're getting an award from us. So
right. Hey, and just a comment from that real quick. I do see this as a ministry opportunity. I mean, what I love about it, though, it's everything about this program is, to me, about balance. Okay, you balance energy with the hard, quiet work that's required to put the stuff together. Okay. You balance basically the character part, and yes, I'm a Christian, so that's a big part of it, but you balance that with, you know, basically the professional component of this, whether these guys start a business or not. You balance the inside with the outside, you know, so there's a lot of balance to it, you know, and that's why it's kind of cool seeing what this program is this combination of, you know, yes, guys in the program, but then also executives on the other side. And they also both need each other. You know, the guys in the program need the executives, but I will guarantee you the executives need the program, you know? So, you know, balance is, to me, the big thing about this, the PEP program. It's, you know, unlike anything I think I've ever been a part of, and I wish I could be more as I try to. So anyway, sorry, Brian.
No, that's quite all right. I love listening to you talk about And, I want to dive into that a little bit further. I know you've been inside with us many times. You've engaged a lot of our participants, but you and your son have also volunteered your videography skills as well. And I want to go back to the human element of that. Are there any memories of interactions with the guys that you had on the inside? Maybe, their business idea and how you were able to engage them, or perhaps getting over a life hurdle, or a belief in self, or,
Mhm.
along those lines. Is there an impactful moment or two that you remember from inside?
Obviously there's quite a few. I would say one of my impactful moments is always anytime we can go and have lunch with those guys. Not that the lunch is the best, but it's all right. But because you have opportunities obviously throughout the day to converse with them, but sitting down, it's kind of like whenever you eat, it breaks down all barriers and stuff, and even when I sit down, I talk to them, about themselves, but their business plan and things like that. And it's just really a great discussion. So I remember some of those. I remember a young guy named Derek. Hope he's doing well on the outside. Young man who just basically just had really tough time and been in and out of jail, prison through his young life. I think I try to remember he was even 20, 21 years old, but having a chance to talk to him and Blair getting to know him also. And again, a little bit more of the relationship with Derek, with Blair than maybe even myself. Those two guys, I remember one guy giving his I don't know if it was a 5-minute delivery. And at the he didn't begin with it, but he ended with the fact that, he had a, bachelor's, and he was basically like a technical genius and stuff like that, and everybody was blown away by it, So I guess those are some of the things that I think about, then you giving me obviously a nice little, what do you call a certificate? Bring your son to prison day thing. Yeah. So the memories are endless. Before getting on here, I said, okay, let me put down a few notes and everything about things that I remember. And it's like, as I continue to go, yeah, you can't really see it. It's like I've got a couple pages, and then my problem is I've got to the point where I'm getting older and I can't read what I wrote down, But it just shows that, you can't fill one page with memories or two or whatever, but those are some of the key ones. Jarmone Sargent, I know I've had a chance to have dinner with him a few times after he got out. And I think that's always kind of interesting because you see everybody in the same uniform when you walk in, but then to see them on the outside now, dressed, I'd say like everybody else and everything, it kind of normalizes them just a little bit, and the reality of what it's like though for them on the outside, because, it's tough on the outside,
It is tough on the outside, and our guys encounter just a labyrinth of obstacles once they get outside, but they have a new community that they can lean on. They have men like Marcel that they can reach out to and ask for assistance in thinking and critically thinking around obstacles. That's one of the amazing things that I loved about PEP is we bring in professionals, and guys learn to communicate with professionals, learn how to think about problems differently, and use community to think about new alternatives on how to get around that, new visions for their life, a new path. And you certainly bring that to the table. You come in, you're so innovative yourself. You're a great business thinker, and you're inviting.
Keep going.
Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to outdo Edward. You said he was bolstering you up a little while ago. I'm going to show him how to do it.
Well,
so
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just say, pleasure to have you in the family of PP.
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me, and, unless you have something else, I'll just sum it up with this is that, you go into this and you say, no, what have I even got to talk about for more than 2 or 3 minutes? But it's kind of interesting that, once you get going in this program, it hopefully nobody sees that a reflection of me. It's a reflection of the program, and what the program has done, like I said, given me an opportunity. And you know, I realize right now that I could probably keep going for half an hour without stopping, you know, so I will stop, you know, but, you know, so I just want to say thanks for having me on, and I appreciated getting a chance to see some of the other guys there earlier. Okay.
Well, thank you for jumping on, especially with
Sure.
everything going on. Appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to early spring when COVID gets behind us so you and I can go get lunch finally.
Yeah. How's California? You still out there?
No, unfortunately back in Dallas. Yeah, I got stuck out there because of, because of COVID. So now I'm
Yes,
back
I
and I'm
know.
thankful.
Yes. All right. Great. Thanks, guys. Doing a great job.
Merry
Thanks a lot.
Christmas.
Tell Blair
Merry
hello.
Christmas. I will.
Well, with that, I would like to, well, first of all, we want to talk about having fun, right? So Brian had his hat on and everybody else is, and we have Jonathan. I will get to him in a second. There's the hat. So part of what I did, you know, because I can't have as much fun as Brian and Jonathan. So I have my business jacket on and my business shirt. And then I threw on my 1980s.
Whoa. This is a family show.
Yeah, it's okay. It's this. Just okay. That's right. Family show. I threw on my 1980s sweats. So that's about as much fun as I'm having. But speaking of fun, I'd like to introduce everybody to a good friend of mine, John Goodale. And John, first of all, I'm going to cue this up a little bit. I wanted to let everybody know just how much commitment. I'm not going to give the exact amount of time or anything like that, but John, you came out of retirement because you wanted to help me fill the team and make sure that we're taking care of people in North Texas. So why don't you give a little bit of background about how you got connected with us and why did you, when you heard I had a need, you raised your hand and left retirement? And I'm sure your wife's not happy with me. Hopefully she's not watching this, or maybe she is happy. But John, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody where you've come from and what you're doing for us now.
Well, my name is Jonathan Goodale, and I'm the Executive Relationship Manager up here in North Texas. I spent 35 years in the oil and gas industry, drilling wells, finding and producing oil, really all over the world, from Africa to the North Sea to the Gulf of Mexico to onshore Kansas. So everywhere, but that ended, and I wanted to do something different. So I went out on my own and started a executive coaching business. And when I got into that, one of the guys I got associated with said, "You need to go to this with me to prison." And I said, never been to prison, never been to jail, but I'll go. And I went, and I was just amazed. And as some of the previous people have said, the energy when you go in there. And then what really blew me away beyond the energy was the capability of these men to give a pitch. Because I've given pitches to senior government officials, to CEOs of oil companies. I've seen a lot of pitches. I've seen some good ones, bad ones. Some of the pitches you see inside a prison in this program are as good as anything I've seen anywhere in the world. That impressed me. So I also, being a Christian, was always looking for mission opportunities and wanted to integrate my faith together with my work. And this is a place where I know how to make PowerPoints, so I could help them with that. I know how to make to do pitches, so I could help them with that. I understand finance, I could help them with that. And it was really love at first sight when I went in there. So for 8 years, I'm now on a 8 years to life sentence with PEP. I've got no chance for parole whatsoever, just when the Lord wants to take me. And I did go into retirement, moved up to Dallas. To be honest, I delayed moving to Dallas until they opened a unit up there. So once PEP opened a unit in Dallas, I moved to Dallas, and I've been going ever since. But my volunteer opportunities dried up with COVID. So even with PEP. So I was really in the retirement where, you know, that you're sitting at home and doing almost zero. But I still was on the North Texas Advisory Board up here. And at one of the meetings in May of this year, Edward said, "Well, we've got an opening now and we're looking for a guy in business development." And he said development. He didn't say business development, but I've been in business development for the last few years of my career. And I said, you know, I could do that. And I've always wanted to do more for PEP. So I sent him a text, and as of June, I've been working here, and I've really loved it. It's been great to work with Edward and Brian and all of the team, Brandon, now Allison, Al. I mean, Al was there when I went for my first time. Al was the guy I connected with. So it's been wonderful. And now I get to, it's another way of giving back. Okay. I'm giving them my time and my talents. I still give them some of my money, and it's just wonderful. And now I'm connecting with people. I've talked to several while we've been going on in here in Summer Voice Mails, but one I just talked to was Steve Hausman, one of our governing board, and we kind of just loved on each other. And he said, "You're doing a great job," and I said, "I love what you're doing with Entree Capital." So that's what I'm doing, and that's what I'm loving.
Well, John, we appreciate your commitment. And so you're responsible for our key volunteer and even donor relations in North Texas.
Yes, and that was a bit of a challenge for me because I didn't, of course, I've been involved for 3 more years than it's been down in Houston, and I spent 30 some odd years down in Houston. I had a lot of contacts down there and knew a lot of the volunteers, but not so many up here. But in the few months that I've been working here, 7 or whatever it is, I've connected with a lot of people and still connecting with more people. And if anyone's watching, I want to connect with more people. And it's been a little difficult when we've had to just Zoom because I like to be face to face with people. But as we're coming out of this, now that we've got the vaccine, and I'm optimistic, we're all optimistic about 2021. And I love it. And if anyone wants to meet with me, give us a call.
Well, John, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for knowing this program. You know more about this program, or you've forgotten more about what's happened in this program than I even know. So having you as part of the team that has served on the inside and the outside for 8+ years in both our Houston and Dallas markets. So thank you very much for that. And I think Brandon has a back of the room for you. Is that correct, Brandon?
My name is Papa Smurf. These are my Smurfs.
So we did a slightly different back of the room, but thank you, Papa Smurf.
Well, that's a little bit of a dated video. The older one in there is graduating from high school this year. But have we talked about sweet names? Maybe we haven't. But after you've gone a few times, they give you a sweet name. Mine was Papa Smurf. I got some of the blue face and got my 2 grandchildren up there, and we sent that in. So that was a while ago.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you, John. And I'm looking for everybody in North Texas to get to meet you. So with that, Brandon, I think you're going to queue up something else, and then we're going to go into a conversation with, I believe, Al and then Roger.
Hey, this is all our executive volunteers out there. This is Allison, and I'm Al. In Ecclesiastes 3 and 4, it says there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. What time is it, Allison?
I think it's time to dance. Let's go to the back of
Let's
the
go.
room.
How do you like us now, PEP?
Good job.
That's
Well,
some good
Al,
stuff.
yeah. Al, I think if Roger, if you don't mind taking it off, I know you're in the back there, Al, but we'd love to bring you in this conversation.
Okay, I can move up.
All right, great. Well, make sure you keep social distance. Roger may have to switch.
Yeah.
Sorry, there's a little bit of COVID protection still in me. Well, Al, you have and I want to have Brian do a little bit more leading on this one, but why don't we cue it up for the people that are going to be watching you? Why don't you give us your background briefly, maybe 30 seconds or so, just a corporate guy, and then you had a little bit of a hiccup in there, and then where you are today. And then finish it off with what you do.
Yeah, I spent 35 years in management with the transportation industry. And in fact, I was the youngest sales manager the railroad ever had. And I grew up during the time when the 3 martini lunch was the norm of the day. So what happened was I had a car wreck in 2003 after entertaining clients, and I went to prison. And it was there that I found PEP, and it changed my life. It made me look at things in a different manner, and it helped me to become the person I was born to be, but I was too afraid to be that person until I went to prison and found out what God really wanted me to do. So after I got out, I've been out 10 years. I went to work for PEP, and I've worked every job they have here, from inside prison to re-entry to executive relations. And now I do executive relations in the Houston area, and it's something that I love. And like John, I'm 70 years old, but he's not quite that old yet. But I'm going to be here until they close that coffin, and I'll probably still be dancing when they do.
Well, we're gonna hold you to another 70 years, so keep that going. But I want to turn it over to Brian a little bit, so I don't keep hogging all the time. Brian, you have any great questions for Al? You've known Al for many years.
Yeah, I have, and he's been such a blessing for PEP for many. But I heard you say a little bit ago that PEP really changed the trajectory of your life. But what parts of it that did that, Al? Was it the curriculum? Was it interaction with the volunteers? Was it interaction with your brothers? I mean, what was it that really turned the corner for you?
Character development. Because we're all afraid to say what our faults are, that we have character faults. And with PEP, it told me to look deep inside myself and to look at my character defects. I was too egotistical to look at them before. But once I went through PEP, and the character assassinations really helped me learn a lot, because I found out how overly competitive I was. So I had to quit playing softball before I got kicked out of the program because I was too competitive. But it made me look at life in a different way. It made me see that you're supposed to help others instead of trying to fulfill your wants. And so I started looking at other needs. And when I did that, it made me become the person that I should have been 50 years sooner. And I had a good mentor in my dad, who was probably the unbelievable gentleman that everybody respected till the day he died. They always called him Mr. Massey. And I took up on his legacy and his mantle. And that's where I live in my life each and every day now.
Wow, that's fantastic. And you brought up something, you brought up the character assessment. A lot of the guys on the inside refer to that as character assassination. Sometimes it feels like that when you get put in the hot seat, but it's a really crucial piece of the transformation that we have on the inside. We found out early on that we really needed to address character and better assess that, and also think about what transformation is going to look like based on character. And so that's great to hear that that was such a crucial piece in your personal transformation. I know you've been on the inside as a participant. You have worked on the inside as staff. You have brought volunteers in. You've come in as a volunteer yourself. Share with us maybe one or two of the great memories you have from the inside of prison. What's that look like for you?
Well, at first, it was dark and bleak when you've never been to jail in your life, and to go at the age I went. But what really helped me was when the volunteers came in and they showed me I still had value. That no matter what I had done in my past, I was forgiven as long as I forgave myself. And it was volunteers like Monty and Linda Pendleton and that group that really made me feel like I belonged, and they gave me purpose. And that's what it's all about. Once you find purpose, you can rewrite your story, and your story is never over until the last chapter is written.
That's awesome, Al. You worked on the inside for us, managing the program on the inside. Were there ever times when our participants really surprised you? They rose up into a role that perhaps, you saw that development right before your eyes, or were there ever any just super exciting moments with any of our participants for you on the inside?
Well, yeah, I mean, I tell you, one of them was Michael Galloway. I mean, there was he gave me a lot of trouble while I was in there. He was always, pushing me to my limit, but I knew his potential. And I saw how he grew and how that he looked upon me as his grandfather in a way, I guess. And it made me feel, well, I'm going to have to take him and raise him as a puppy to a full-fledged dog again. So it really helped out. But I mean, it's people like that, people you didn't think had a chance. We had some that come in and sit on the back row, and you go, they're not going to make it. And all of a sudden, the light would go on because they would see that there was hope. And that's what really makes it when you see somebody transformed like that.
Hey, Al, I don't remember this. What was the business plan that you worked on the inside?
I use microorganisms to clean up oil and gasoline spills. And in fact, we do that. I still delve in that a little bit on the outside. We have chemicals that we use to increase productivity.
Wow, that's fantastic. Do you remember any of the volunteers who helped you prepare your business plan or your pitch?
Yeah. It was Monty Pendleton, John Hunter. There were just so many of them that were there that came about, and they would help me with it. But I didn't even have a business plan advisor. I had to try to do it all on my own because nobody knew what I was talking about. So, but luckily I had some people on the outside that sent me in information and helped it grow.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, you said it earlier. You said it right. You have taken on just about every role that PEP has to offer, and you've done it with excellence, and you've done it with passion. It's been a pleasure to have you on staff, and I look forward to that for many, many more years. Thank you for your service.
Well, thank you, and thank everybody involved, because y'all give me a purpose, and that's why on the outside I might be 70, but on the inside I'm 23. Thank you.
Hey, love that. Well, Mr. Roger, since you can hear us, Roger Bewley, I think we have a back of the room moment here. Let's see if Brandon can get, oh, there we go. And we don't need it now. We got a back of the room moment going on, but Brandon, do we have that back of the room?
Okay, they say that dancing in public is one of the hardest things to do. Public speaking is very hard to do. And I'm going to do it in public. Dance to with a brother.
Roger, that was very creative. So thank you very much. We love having you on, and I'd love for everybody to just, maybe you can give us a 30-second background on your journey, because you have a very unique journey, and then also end it with what you would do as part of PEP, and we'll go from there.
Well, yeah, I do have quite a journey. I started out, I was a police officer in Houston for 15 years, part of my incarceration. And I had an off-duty incident where I had a family domestic violence situation caused death, and I ended up going to prison for 20 years. So I decided at that time, well, first of all, I really did hate myself at that time, so I had to learn spiritually and turn it over to God. And so I learned at about 50 years old forgiveness, and once I did that, my whole life changed. In prison, I decided to work and get my bachelor's degree in business administration, and then I got my master's degree in humanities with an emphasis in literature. So I wasn't finished at that point, and I still didn't know what I was going to do. I mean, and I had heard about PEP in 2005. Pat McGee and I had worked together inside.
and he had told me about PEP. I said, wow, that sounds like a great program. How do you get involved in that? He said, well, you got to have within 3 years going home. I said, oh, it sounds like a great program. I don't know if I ever want to be involved in that with a 20-year sentence. So, but it turns out I was. And after I had completed my master's degree, I had found out I was going to serve my whole sentence. And I got a postcard one Christmas, and it said, you're invited to apply for PEP. And I was just so excited. I knew God had answered my prayer. And, so that's my journey. I got transferred to the Cleveland unit and had the opportunity to go through the program. And it wasn't any, and having gone through a master's program, I thought, well, this isn't going to be anything. This is not, you know. And it was probably the most difficult thing that I ever had done in my life as far as education-wise. I had to work my tail off, and I really needed, I had to memorize things that I never thought I'd have to, but it was unbelievable. And it was fulfilling, and I had the opportunity to work as a peer educator inside. And just thankfully, when I got out, I was able to stay within the program and be able to be hired as a development associate on the outside.
Well, thank you. And I know on our team, you've been a blessing to me. I've just seen you grow, and you continue just to pick up and connect with people. You know, in what you do on the development team, how are you using your passion for that program to connect people?
Well, I have watched guys change, the transformation in guys. And to me, it's when you watch somebody transform and you see it before your eyes, it means everything to me. And so at first I was a skeptic. I thought, well, this guy's playing the system or this, you know, but I watched guys that I thought, well, this guy's not going to make it. This guy's not going to make it. And then suddenly I saw this light switch go off and they changed. And when that change happened in that person, it sold me on the whole program. And this wasn't just one person. This was a consistent pattern. And so I was sold on this program at that point. And I was sold because it affected me the way it affected me. It changed, like Al had said, the character development, going through the character assessment. You have to look at your faults, and they're not easy to take. And they're a lot harder to take out here. But you have to learn in there how to take those criticisms and change. And that's what I've done through PEP.
Outstanding. Well, Roger, we're really excited to have you on the team. We thank you because you understand both sides of it. You can really relate with our donors and volunteers, and you can, from a personal perspective, talk about radical transformation. Obviously, a big mistake was made in life and you paid for that, but that self-hatred and that self-doubt that you had to go through, and learning that process of not just self-forgiveness, but how to walk that out. And I get to see that in you every day. And I get to see that passion when you're engaging people, including my family, because you are responsible for my family's commitment to PEP, but just to get to see how you connect with people. And I want to thank you for that very much. Mr. Kelly, you have any final questions?
Yeah, Roger, you and I share something that we did a lot of time in prison. And so there was a big adjustment for us when we got out. Now, my experience was PEP really helped me with that, but I would like to dive down into your experience. So, you got out, you've probably not encountered technology out here and a lot of the things that we've missed out on for such a long time. But will you talk about some of those things, some of those difficulties for you and how you overcame them?
Wow, boy, I tell you, the first day out, I didn't know how to dial a cell phone. And I was lucky enough to have Greg and Pat pick me up at the Hutchins unit. And Greg handed me the phone to make a phone call. And I didn't know how to dial the phone. Never seen a cell phone. I'd seen them on television, that's it. But I didn't know how to dial it. So it made you feel pretty, insecure that you didn't know how to do that. But navigating, get your driver's license, and I had to go take my driving test again, and just like a kid, a 15-year-old starting out from the beginning. I had to learn everything, how to online banking, and it was just to navigate in that process in a few weeks, and you have to learn that very quickly. And then you have to be able to navigate public transportation. I don't know if you did do that, Brian, I'm sure you did. But that public transportation, I never used that in my life. And boy, that was some frustrating days. But job interviews and the frustration of going and having to reinvent yourself, you know, there's just so many struggles. But you know what? It was the life caddies in PEP that worked with me day in and day out, and they stayed with me, and they took me to job interviews, and they gave me bus passes, and they, you know, I did what I was supposed to do, and they told me, do this, follow this, you know, and reestablishing your credit. It's just unbelievable. So I started out with a 4 credit rating, a 4 FICO score, and today I have an 800. So
with a 4?
Yes, with a 4. I had a 4. I didn't know they had a 4.
I've never heard of that. That's hilarious. Were there any instances you remember where you just seemed, you felt overwhelmed, or you didn't know what the next step forward is, or how to handle the situation?
You know, along the way, yeah, sometimes I question myself. I question what the next step is. But the brotherhood is what is so important, and my coworkers in PEP that I can go to and ask, because of similar experiences, you know. So I could go to you if I want. I mean, not that I do, but I feel like I could always go to Brian Kelly or Edward or anybody, and definitely Al's like my big brother. He'll criticize me, he'll tell me the right thing to do, and I'll do it. So that's how, you know. So when I do have those doubts, you know, I go and I figure it out, and there's just plenty of support around here to, you know, to be able to do that. And you can't. There's a love of the organization that I have, but it's not a love just of the organization. I love the brotherhood.
Well, let me also ask about our volunteers. Were there some volunteers on the inside who directly impacted you, who've changed the direction of your life?
Oh yeah, there's a guy sitting in the back of the room right now, Dougal Cameron, and there's Adele Stadler, and I mean, there's the Pendletons. I mean, Monty and Linda. They always treated me like you know, a son, basically. I mean, there's just so many that over the years that I've Adam Wolf. I mean, when I would go, so each month we would have an event, and I hadn't had visits for so long. You know, in probably a 10-year period, I had 2 visits. And so when PEP, when I came to PEP, we would have basically I considered an event a visit, but it was the same people would come and see me every month, and I would look forward to that month. And it was like I got through that month to live for that next visit and the next visit and the next visit. So all those executives had such an impact on me, and they would call me by my name. And as you know, Brian, inside, they'd never call you by your first name. You know, it's Kelly, hey, inmate, you know, or whatever. It's that offender. And when they call you Brian, or they call me Roger, that has an impact on you. And that means that you're a person to them, and they treat you like a person, and they treat you like, you know, they don't ask you about your crime, what you did. They treat you like the person in front of them. And to me, that was just everything. Every month, and I stayed in there for 3 years working at PEP because I loved every month. So.
Well, thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining us today. Roger, you're doing a great job. And look, I'm paying you to do a job, so we need to get you back to work. Back of the room, huh?
Well, thanks. Speaking of that, Brian, I think we have a back of the room right now. I think we're going to play a video, and I think Roger's going to change up his seat with somebody, but I think we have a special guest back of the room.
Awesome.
need some music.
Actually, he wants to do this back of the room live.
I love
Back of
that.
the room live.
Can we have you, Roger, move the camera a little bit? Are you gonna do back of the room?
What kind of music do you want?
Just you give me whatever. You give me music and I'll dance.
All right.
There we
I'm
go.
gonna put you straight.
What more do I need?
Does it look okay, Al?
Back of the room.
I guess we don't have any music. We're
Put
just
the
gonna have to
music
hum
on.
along, hum a tune.
I can do a two-step like.
No, I'm gonna give you Bruno Mars.
We can't play that, sorry, y'all. We can't play
All right.
licensed music,
But
so
we're
let me
live-
get you something.
All right. Give me
Let's
some.
get something.
Hmm.
Yeah, let me get something going.
Show me your moves, Dougal. Let me just see the moves.
Brian, I think it's gonna be fun to interview this
If I
guy.
don't have the music, I'm not sure I got the moves. I gotta have the beat.
Okay, Brandon, let's hit it.
I think, maybe I could dance to non-music. Hey, I know, why don't we have Al sing?
No.
Hey, Al sing. No.
Beatbox.
Brian, hey, come on, Brian. Come on, Brian.
Yeah, you don't want me singing. Everybody will bail out.
Well,
I'm just gonna dance the way, I basically.
there we go.
To do anyway, okay?
Back-
I'm just gonna dance up a little bit like that. A
Oh,
little bit like
yeah.
that, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit back. Yeah, this is weird. Just back it up.
Before I really embarrass myself.
That was good, dude.
Thank you, Dougal. Well, Mr. Dougal Cameron, I'm going to actually let Brian do the introduction, but I'd love to do this one because you are a guy I admire. But because I am so darn humble, I'm going to give it over to Brian.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, I want to introduce this guy. He's become a great friend, a mentor to me, a governing board member for PEP, a longtime impactor of people, a longtime impactor of the city of Houston. He has made an impact on the landscape here. And so I would like to introduce everybody to Mr. Dougal Cameron. Dougal, tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, I am, my dad was in the Marine Corps, and so I was born on one Marine base, grew up on the other one. Been in Houston most of my life. I live in a little town called Chapel Hill, Texas, out in the country, and my wife and I have what we call a hospitality ministry, and we enjoy life. We have 11 grandchildren, and I have a business called Cameron Management. I tell people if they ask me what my calling is, it's to model, mentor, and message 3 habits: love Jesus, live entrepreneurially, and work hard. I do that at Cameron Management, some other business interests I have, and I teach at a school in Austin called the Acton MBA. And I love PEP because it is centerpiece to what my calling is. So in fact, just this morning, I had a young guy come in, wanted some mentoring, not a PEP guy. And the centerpiece of my mentoring was to tell him a PEP story. In fact, maybe a PEP story I'll tell you right now.
Please do.
Let's hear that PEP story right now.
Well, let me see. Let me tell one piece of the PEP story is for the last 5 years, at least once a year, and sometimes twice a year, my favorite thing to do was to have a romantic getaway weekend with my wife to Waxahachie, Texas, included 2 days in prison. And on the way back home to Chapel Hill, after we'd spent time at the Estes unit, and usually we're there for the finals of the business plan competition and graduation, we would stop in a place called College Station, and we would eat at Veritas Wine Bar. We would have a very good meal, and invariably, the waiter or waitress would come up and ask us, well, is this a special occasion? And we would say, why, yes, we both just got out of prison. And it's a great line that we love using because you never know when you say that what kind of response you're going to get. It's usually they just think you're messing with them. And it almost always results in me being able to tell a story. And sometimes it's just a good news story about entrepreneurialism, second chances. Sometimes it's a wonderful God story. And I'm amazed at how many times the stories I tell to people in my Sunday school class, to my kids, to my employees are PEP stories. In fact, about 3 weeks ago, we had a get together with our employees, and it was a good get together, 18 people at the Esperson building downtown. And I was able to say, the good news is no layoffs. That's exciting. The bad news is no raises, no bonuses. Everybody said, hey, that doesn't sound like bad news to me. That sounds like all good news. So, but I asked people to tell, one of our sayings to live by is don't curse the darkness, light a candle. So I said, 2020, light a candle. Somebody tell me a candle story. And we had several times. We had one guy who engineer for our business, for our, did air conditioners and stuff. And he had some time off because of COVID. And he spent 3 hours a day, and he is now fluent in Spanish. He started at 0. He's now fluent in Spanish. Had another guy, parking operator guy who really was a valet for us. And he didn't have many cars to valet park. So he and his wife got Fitbits. He started walking when he would have been parking cars. And in May, so it started in March, in April, and then in May, he was now walking 10 miles a day. And he was in a contest with his wife. He said he lost 25 pounds. He and his wife feel better than they've ever felt. And so, so I had kind of prepared a little bit, and I told them a story, PEP story, about a fella named Greg from Ohio. And 5 years ago, Greg was an employee at Cameron Management. He had some problems with drugs, and we had to fire him. And we didn't want to fire him. We wanted to work with him. We tried, but didn't work. Then 4 years ago, okay, so we fired him 5 years ago. 4 years ago, I'm sitting at Cleveland, Texas, at a think tank. There's 12 guys in white surrounding me. We're talking about integrity. And this guy on the far end points at me and says, I can tell you about integrity. And it has to do with a company that fired me. In fact, it was your company. And, you can imagine you don't quite know what's coming next, but it was really a wonderful thing. That guy said, number one, you guys obviously didn't want to fire me. You worked with me. I didn't work with you. You know what? I thank God I was fired. And you know what? I thank God that I came to prison. That's what it took to shake me up, get me back to my relationship with Christ, get me in the PEP program. I thank God for the PEP program. And he went through the 9 months, did a great job. At graduation, he was from Ohio. He asked me to stand up with him for his family portrait, which I not only did, but I did with just delight and glee. And then and I reconnected with him on Facebook or email or something about a year ago. And it sounded like things were going okay, but not really sure how they were going. But knowing that I was going to talk to my employees, I sent him an email, and he said, I said, so tell me about life. He said, well, I got back to Ohio in 2019, got involved in a great church, got involved with my family. My son has had a son. I have a grandson. So there's so many good things going on, but I just couldn't get a job. And then boom, in March, when the lockdown happened, they called me back and they said, we really can't get anybody else to come in. Are you interested? And he was like, I've been in prison. COVID, this is nothing. And so he has been working 60 hours a week. He has a great job. And as I understand it, his boss has said, you need to find me more guys like you. How do I get more guys that, have been in prison? And so he can now say, thank God I got fired. Thank God I went to prison. Thank God for PEP. Thank God for COVID. Thank God for the lockdown. And, you talk about lighting a candle, and what an encouraging story to be able to tell all of my employees. And mostly they weren't complaining, but one of the great things about PEP, if you're ever complaining about life, all you need to do is get around some guys like Al and Roger and Brian and anybody in PEP, and you can stop complaining.
You know, Dougal, you are such an inspiring guy. You're always making lemonades out of lemon. You're always seeing how the glass is really full, half full of air, half full of water, or whatever. And I love the way you light a candle everywhere you go. I absolutely love your wife, Catherine. I love it that you bring her to prison for date night. So tell me, how has the Camerons lit a candle during 2020? What's some things that have went on with you that has been a real blessing? Everybody's always talking about how negative it's been, but I know you always see the other side. What's happened well for you guys in 2020?
This has been a wonderful time with our children and grandchildren. For almost all of March, April, May, we had all of our children and grandchildren together with us. We had my mother and my mother-in-law who are in their 80s, who took some precautions, but frankly, they decided, I'd rather die than not see my family. And so they were very involved with our family. It was a wonderful time when we would have family devotions together. Both my mother-in-law and my mother were able to testify, hey, I'm not going to do silly things. I'm not going to take silly risks, but I am not afraid to die. And what a testimony to give to my kids and my grandkids. And we have it on film now. And this whole thing has been such a win. And I could probably tell you 5 or 6 or 7 stories like that. And in addition, I could say one of my favorite things is watching how PEP has turned lemonade from lemons. I mean, 2020, we can't go into prison, and boom, you guys have been firing on all cylinders. And the guys that I've written some letters to some guys in prison, and it's just fun reading what they're writing and how you guys are transitioning. And I'm glad to be a part of this. I really do think, given what my calling is and where God's taken me in life, this is just a perfect connection for my skills and abilities. And I tell you, I bet you every day I tell a PEP story, but I bet you in a normal week, I might tell 15 of them. And a lot of them are just having been at the unit and having somebody tell me a story, or, having Al give his testimony, or Roger, or any of the other ones. But I mean, oh my goodness, I tell the Victor story from the Estes unit over and over and over again. Same thing, kind of, thank God I went to prison, and thank God I went through PEP. And seeing somebody so excited about God using like crazy difficult circumstances in their life like that, it really is wonderful.
Dougal, you're such an inspiring guy. I always love it every time I'm around you. And I love that you brought up the pivot that we have had during a very challenging year. And, you've been involved with PEP for a long time. You've been on the governing board for a little while now. And so you have got to intimately see the workings going on behind the curtain. So how have you seen PEP pivot in the last year or so during 2020, during these challenging times?
Well, the first and most important thing is, rather than see this as something out of your control, you saw this as this is what's happening in the world. God's in control of the world. There must be something we're supposed to do. So how can we accomplish what we need to do? How can we tell our story? How can we help men? Doing what you're doing here is powerful. Going through the PEP Zoom e-school was very impressive, and how we made that even better. The loans that we're making and really doing financial literacy with men is just powerful. And I just think it reminds me, I think a lot of people are going to look back on 2020, and the question you're going to ask people is, how did you use 2020? And if what you hear is, oh, well, what a terrible year. Oh, I'm so glad it's over, as opposed to, yeah, that was a tough year, but let me tell you what happened. And that's going to be a defining thing for people over and over and over again. I've told my kids that, I've told my grandkids that. And I mean, frankly, there's a couple of charitable groups that I loved a lot about them, but they pretty much just held their hand out and said, give me money because, we can't do what we're going to do. And they just sort of sat on their hands. And PEP has not done that. It's exciting.
There has been quite a few pivots that we have had this year. We have, not had access for our staff into prison since March because of COVID, but the show goes on. Our peer educators on the inside, graduates of our program, have continued to lead class, and we have provided some video content for them to continue to do so. We have supported them from afar. We've started a new correspondence course for our Leadership Academy, or our character portion. We have pushed out some of the things that we used to do on the inside that we now do on the outside, like we do our character assessments in the transitional houses. And you brought up an interesting new thing that we're doing, and that is Entree Capital, our second chance friendly lending opportunity. We recognize that our release participants, our would-be aspiring entrepreneurs, have limited access to capital as an ex-felon. Not only do they have probably poor banking history or no banking history, but they have that felony on their record. So it's difficult to obtain startup capital or growth capital. And we recognized a niche that we might be able to fill, and not only provide funds and bring together social impact investors, but to make sure that we have the wraparound services, the mentorship, the advisement, the support, the back office stuff, and really prepare the guys to be successful and provide that capital. And you've got to be kind of a part of that think tank. And so again, just kind of behind the scenes, what are some of the things that you're most excited for and for PEP looking forward?
Well, the Entree Capital is a great example. I am excited about the idea of having a fund of money that's successful financially, and we can say 100% of it is invested in the businesses of men who spent time in prison. Now, PEP graduates, and then along the way, what we've learned is exactly what you've said. We need some financial literacy. We need some mentoring to go along with that. Well, that's powerful, because if we do it with our guys, there's going to be some people, maybe some younger people who would otherwise go to prison, that we can mentor the same way. And I wouldn't be surprised if you get one of our guys who's 25 or 30 or 35 or 50, who's gone through this process, and then who goes and takes young guys who are 15, 17, 18, 19, and say, you know what? I hope you don't have to go to prison to take this as seriously as you need to. That's a pretty good argument. And I think we're going to have that, not just but we're going to have people who can do that. We're going to have the Als and the Bryans and the other people, not just guys who haven't been in prison, but guys who can say, I've been there. That's what's so powerful. Every time I see Brian in prison and he's able to kind of shock people that, hey, I spent 20 years sitting in that chair, that's a powerful testimony.
Well, Dougal, it's been such a pleasure to have you here, and I want to make sure that Edward doesn't have any questions. Edward, anything that you got for Dougal today?
No, I just wanted to, because this is really our way of giving back, Dougal. And right now with the world watching, I just want to thank you. You are a busy enough man giving back. You teach at the MBA level in entrepreneurship. You're running Cameron Management. You bring in interns each year to expose them to the real estate business and even to PEP. You're my friend. You're involved in our board. You do so much. And I just want to take a moment and I want to thank you for that commitment, because when I get tired, you inspire me. But the biggest reason you inspire me is because you take date night seriously with your wife, and you bring her to Cleveland and you bring her to Estes to make sure that you guys are having date night. You use your love language for your wife to love on humanity. What an example you are setting for your children, for your grandchildren, but for everybody on this call. And I just want to love on you and thank you for all that you do for the men that we serve.
Well, I'm blessed to be a blessing, and I can truly say that I have gotten 10x what I put in, and it makes me want to put in more.
Well, thank you very much. You are loved. Please give our best to Kathy and your family, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Glad to be here. I'll dance my way out.
There we go. And while
Dance
he's-
in, dance out.
While he's
That's
doing
all
that,
good.
I think Brandon's going to get us caught up on, there we go. Thank you, Dougal. Brandon's going to get us caught up on a couple of videos. So I think you have a video for us before we go to our next conversation.
Thank you so much.
Uh-oh, it's going down.
And this is John Crab.
There's a process here.
Process. I can't believe I let you talk me into coming to prison today. What is this? What are we doing?
You're gonna love it, right?
Uh-huh.
But you gotta kind of get undressed a little bit to go through security.
Uh-huh.
Okay, take off your jacket. So anyway, you go through security. Look, here's my jacket. Eye clear. Come on, let's go. Dude.
No?
You're in a prison.
I'm in prison?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me. What is this?
Hunter.
Come on.
You're embarrassing me.
I'm sorry, but oh, good grief. Come on now. Come on. Enough.
John, they're not gonna let you in if you keep doing this.
All right. Oh, take it soft. Yeah. All right.
Okay, you're in.
I'm in? Cool.
You're in. Okay. We are going to go through kind of a sequence. You just saw the security sequence. So now we are in the gym. Okay? Okay, so we're entering the door. Boom.
Yeah.
Yo! Yo! Hey, great to see you. Okay, now we are through with that part, and now we are going to sit down. So anyway, you know, Hunter, it's so much fun. You know, they're still having fun up there, but I got to tell you, you got to expect the unexpected. So now we're going into the program, and they're wrapping up.
Wrapping up?
They're wrapping up
What does
today.
that mean? What does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's inspiring.
Okay.
So,
So
you
tell me
inspired?
yeah. So tell me something about what does it mean to you when you come here? What inspires you?
I don't know. These guys inspire me. They really do. You know, what they have gone through, where they're going, they're working on their plans. It just keeps getting better. And it's the best part of my month. So I hope do you think you come back?
Oh yeah, I mean, I saw so much today in terms of people, like I said, they're working on their plans, they're working on their plans for life, they're working on transformation, they're trying to do something to completely revamp, and it's amazing. Absolutely amazing to watch people go through this kind of effort. We all know how difficult it is to make changes in our own lives, to watch people put in the work that they do to get where they want to go. Pretty incredible.
And the one thing, John, the only way that you can come back is if you take some dance lessons. You suck. I was embarrassed.
Well, I was too. So we'll just both have to get over it and keep moving on down the line. And hopefully I won't have to dance a second time. That would be nice.
It would be very nice for
Very
all
nice
of us.
for all of us. I agree. Yeah. Absolutely agree.
Okay, that's the wrap up. We love all you guys. We love all you guys at PEP. Thank you for all you do. Any last comments?
Never say quit. Never say die. Just never give up. Keep moving forward. Go for your goals. Enjoy your life.
Giddy up.
Get ready to get out of here and go for it.
Adios.
Adios.
You got to love that. Brian, where do you go in the world where you can get CEOs and serial entrepreneurs dancing? And it's this program that it just brings out the best in people. I love that one of our 10 driving values is fun. We want to have fun in life, right? And that's what we're doing. And that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, golly, I have so much fun in prison. And I think they just reminded me of the fact that one of the reasons why we instituted dancing into the back of the room is to teach the guys to break down their typical hard outer exterior in prison. It's okay to be silly. It's okay to have fun and laugh at yourself. That's one of the reasons why we instituted sweet names. Every one of the guys in PEP gets a sweet name, and it's okay to laugh at yourself. It's okay to break down the old guy and look at what great qualities you already have and we can build upon, and what kind of a new man that we can build. And so when our volunteers like Melvin, like John and John, come in and can dance and have fun and laugh at themselves and be silly, but also be very serious and dive into deep issues and how to build a plan. And it's okay to build up a new guy. And so, and I am so excited about our next visitor, volunteer, Mr. Melvin Maltz. Melvin has been involved with PEP since close to the very beginning, and he has impacted so many men. He's impacted me in my life. He's on our advisory council. Great questions, great impact, great passion. And so let me introduce Edward. Next up on the stage with us, Mr. Melvin Maltz. Melvin, how are you doing?
Confused because I got here quite by accident. And I had no idea what this was all about. I'm totally unprepared to do anything. I've even dressed like I belong in the halfway house. But that's okay. It's a time of the year to have fun and be relaxed. And I guess that's what I'm doing today.
Amen to that, Melvin. You came to the right spot. So tell me, how long have you been involved with PEP? When was the first time you went in?
It's an excellent question. I remember it was class 12. And one of my favorite guys, and I still am in contact with after I met in class 12. And my guess is it was somewhere near 24 to 26 classes total. So that would be 7 or 8 years, I suppose. And I think I have been to most of the events with every class except this year.
Yeah.
So well, it's been fun.
Yeah, we thank you for your.
I have to say, I hate. You and I will talk later or one day, but anybody that brings me on after Dougal ought to be ashamed of himself.
Dougal is a fun, festive guy, but so are you.
Well, Melvin, actually, you queued that up perfectly because we're talking about in a year of disruption and craziness, how we need to innovate and just kind of go with it and throw our shoulder into it. So we're just so thankful that you weren't queued up for this, and we're grateful you're on. You've made an impact in my life. We've spent time on Zoom calls, we've talked inside a prison, and we really appreciate everything we're doing. What I'd love for you to share, even impromptu, is we want to encourage people that yes, life is challenging, but part of that is for us to have resilience and pick ourselves back up. And a lot of times that includes taking the focus off of how hard it is for me. And when you start to serve other people, it does lift your spirit. So I wouldn't mind if you talked a little bit about it. Why do you keep coming back year after year? Not just about how you're loving on people, but the refreshment that you get from that. Would you mind sharing that?
Well, I'm not sure I know how to answer it, but I'll try. I'm not the youngest guy in the crowd, so but you probably know. Some years ago, I got involved after I graduated from A&M, and the boss came and said, I have been asked to sign you to join the Houston A&M club because I have been asked, somebody needs some help over there. I said, but I've got to work. He says, this will be part of your work. And that was 1948. So I got active, and one thing leads to another, and I got active in a number of others after my wife got cancer the first time. got over to American Cancer Society, and then transitioned to the Multiple Sclerosis Society when a daughter got MS. Things just kept going. And I was always at a spot where I was a board member or just a board chairman, an officer, and then chairman of many of the organizations. But it wasn't, it was fine, and maybe I contributed, maybe I didn't. But I got involved in the Silver Fox Advisors where I heard Catherine speak and said, it sounded interesting. That's my assistant's phone. I heard Catherine, I said, it sounded interesting, and I told my wife about it. She said, "It's not getting involved." I said, okay. And then Monty started talking about it at the Silver Fox meetings. And I came home and told her about that. And I said, I'm going to go. She said, well, you go one time, that's it. And I said, that was class 12, it was 7 or 8 years ago. And I guess I've been back a few times since then. And I guess the reason is because being an officer in a group is one thing, a board member is another. But this is where the rubber meets the road, and you can actually see what's going on. One of the organizations I was also with was at that time called Visiting Nurse Association. And we had nurses that would go into people's homes and take care of them and assist in getting cancer patients adjusted to home life in wheelchairs and medical beds and so forth. But I never went to those things. I was never asked to go. Maybe I would have gone. I don't know. But here, this is where the rubber meets the road. You can see what happens and change. And I guess Rolando Branco, who I met at A&M in class 12, I met him at Cleveland. I went to A&M. I think he graduated and was working and had probably as many drinks at one night as he served as a bartender. Got picked up and spent several years and was in PEP. And we're still acquainted. And my good feeling is that when he got out, he went back to Brownsville where he was from, worked offshore for a while, got a job onshore, got a promotion, decided he wanted to be in business, got married, had 3 kids. We exchange emails every now and then, and just to see the pride. Now he's a business owner and apparently doing well, if the pictures I got recently from his house were any indication. So I'm just proud of the fact that you can do that and see the results down the road. So that's why I've stayed involved.
Well, we're thankful.
I'm sitting in the back of the room, and in the front of the room are also good indications too. Al was one of the first guys I met in prison, and he was, I think Al was out doing some kind of staff work at the time, but watching him and seeing what he's done, leaving and coming back, and then meeting Brian for the first time, because I know you were in Dallas and I was in Cleveland, so I never got there. But it's been a thrill to me to see just what can happen and has happened.
Well, I think your message to the guys comes with a lot of compassion, a lot of years of wisdom. You have obviously been hit hard in your own family with life traumas, right? And you've had to continue to go forward. And I really do appreciate how you come in and you speak in their lives, to the men's lives, but also to our team too. You and I, again, spent some time on Zoom a while ago, and we listened to you because you have a lot of life experience. We have people that are coming in that are younger in their career. We have people that bring in their children because they want their adult children to expose them. And we have people like you who have lived a life, and you have a lot of value. And that's what I love about the program. It doesn't matter where you come from, as long as you realize that you have something that you can offer these men. And I would like to end it with that and turn it back over to Brian. But have you been amazed at how important your voice is to these guys? You're so humble, you might say, I don't know about that. And I'm going to tell everybody your voice does matter. That's why we keep inviting you back. but is it inspiring to you to know that you have something to offer these guys and they want to listen to that?
Well, I'll tell you the one thing I try to emphasize to every one of the guys that I speak to up there is that these certificates from PEP and Baylor University don't do a doggone bit of good sitting on your wall or in your dresser drawer or in your mother's house. The thing to do is take them on your job interviews, show them that you weren't lazy when you were in prison. You made some effort to do something, that you learned something. And these certificates are proof that you can learn, that I did learn, and to know that Baylor University doesn't give these for free. They make sure that our program is valuable, put the content, knows what it does, send their people down to help and mentor, but make use of it. And that's cannot help but hurt. I mean, cannot hurt but help get the job that you're being interviewed for. That's something I tell each time I can to the new person.
Melvin, that's awesome. I've heard you share that message with the guys on the inside, so I know you're telling the truth. I've heard you say that many times. And I think you've invited family members to come into prison with you, isn't that right?
I don't remember family members that maybe I did, but I have invited.
Has your daughter not been in with us?
Huh?
Hasn't your daughter been in with us?
No, I haven't had a daughter. Oh, that's right. My niece was involved in the ladies' prison. I forgot about that. So she in Lockhart. But otherwise, I have a few friends and people I've met in different places that have come with me for their first visit. Some have never returned. Several of them have.
How do you talk people into coming into prison for the very first time? What's your selling point for PEP?
Just telling my story. That's what I've said today. And they can do it. They want to. And I just hope that some of them have contributed. I'm sure they have through visits, but financially, because most of them can contribute financially to one degree or another. Everybody's level is different. Everybody's ceiling is different. So whatever happens, happens. But hopefully they have all contributed something.
Well, Melvin, it's been a real blessing to have you impact our men at PEP for almost 10 years now. You've had a tremendous footprint. We thank you for joining us today. It's always a pleasure to get to see you again. You're such an inspirational guy.
One more question to you.
Yes, sir.
And I don't think I read it, but if I did, I didn't hear it or see it or encompass it. But who is on this program? What type of people are we? Do we have men who will see it in the prison? Is that the purpose? And have this opportunity to hear from other people?
Yes, sir. So this is what we're calling our first ever live love-a-thon. We're reaching out to our volunteers to love on them and talk about how PEP has impacted our life and do a little reflection. But we've also put this on all of our social media channels. So everybody is out there available to get on and listen in and hear inspirations like you and how you've been coming in and impacting lives for such a good time. So it's mainly geared towards our volunteers, but it's really open to joke you public.
Okay. I think it would hurt to have men the opportunity to see this thing too. Just what it has meant to other people. Anyway, thank you for inviting me, Al and Brian and Edward. It's always been fun. I've enjoyed it. Look forward to more.
We're looking forward to it too. Happy holidays.
And to you.
Thank you, sir. Great to see you.
Thank you.
Brian Melvin is such a...
Talking about family members and inviting them in, I think we do have a clip of Mr. Goodale inviting some family members into prison. Is that right, Brandon? Do you have that queued up and ready?
Well, yeah, I do. We have some interviews with John's family members, but I mean, in PEP, what has to happen before you can talk on the mic? You got to go to the back of the room.
Back of the room.
Right.
That's good. Family that dances together, stays together, I think. That's going to be my lesson I pull out of that.
Yeah, and John, tell your wife she was better than everybody else. So good job.
All right, now let's go to the actual interviews.
Looking forward to it.
Hello, my name's Heath Wilson, and I've had the pleasure of going into the jails a couple different times, and I just get really excited knowing that my time is not wasted, and just sitting down with the guys and encouraging them and getting an opportunity to meet them one-on-one, look them face to face, and also give great feedback on whether it's business plans or etiquette or just opportunities to share real life experiences on my side, or even to talk to them about their past or their hope going for the future, because they are trying to make a change. And it's good to know that your time is not wasted, that you get an opportunity to sit down with the inmates and pour into them, and just know that you are making a difference for now and also for the future.
Hi, my name is Julie Goodale, and my father-in-law, John Goodale, introduced me to PEP many years ago as he was volunteering at the time. He, one year, on his birthday, requested that all of us attend with him to see a PEP graduation / the top 3 presentations were given that day. And if I'm honest, I was a little apprehensive of going. I wasn't sure at all what I would expect, and I had never been inside of a prison. However, I will say what I expected and what I saw could not have been more opposite. Those men accomplish so much through this program. They grow so much, they learn so much about themselves. And the statistics that they show of what this program has done are amazing, but really getting to see it firsthand of just the heart change and the life change is truly unbelievable. After we finished our visit, we were able to go and take a meal to their transition house for some men that had recently been released, and get to talk with them, visit with them more, and it was just continued to be evident to me just the life change and the heart change that they've experienced through this program.
Hi, my name is Kim Wilson, and my father is John Goodale, and he works for PEP. And my favorite memory of PEP is when I went inside the prison to watch a graduation ceremony. It was such a joy to see the guys graduate. They were so proud of what they did, and it was just so neat to see the joy and the pride that they had in completing the program and finishing something. So that is my favorite part about PEP, and I loved getting to go inside the prison and see it.
Well, John, that was really great. I want to bring that back. We've seen people from business professionals to serial entrepreneurs to people who have been around for years and just have a lot of wisdom. But I love the fact that we're driving that home. It's not just about you doing it. It's so important to you that you brought your family in, and I want to thank you for that.
You're welcome. It was real joy.
Brandon, I think we have a couple more videos we want to show. I know we're winding down on our Love-a-thon, and I've been watching the team, and they just continue to be sending out emails and texts and phone calls, and Allison's on and off because she's on phone calls. But we're running out of time here, and I know that we have a few more videos we want to show. So
yeah, I think we are going to run out of time. I mean, these live interviews have been so incredible, but Charles Blaine actually recorded a video for us yesterday sharing his favorite memory of PEP. So we're gonna look at that.
Perfect.
Hey PEP family, Charles Blaine here, dropping in to talk about one of my favorite times in the unit. A couple years ago, I got to bring my parents into the Cleveland unit after I had talked about PEP so much to them. They actually worked their trip around coming to an event day, and so it was really cool to be able to take them inside and for them to be able to witness firsthand the miracle that is going on inside. Everyone inside embraced them, they embraced everyone else, and they just had the time of their lives, and they're still talking about it till this day. And so I really appreciate you guys for welcoming them in with open arms and showing them the true miracle of PEP and getting them excited about it, as excited as I am about it. So I thank you guys for that, and I look forward to visiting with everybody again. But for the time being, I was told I had to get to the back of the room, so I guess it's my turn.
What, do we have a back room with Charles too?
Oh no, I didn't get that video. I think he just jipped. Oh, he got one over on us.
We're going to remember that.
He cheated us. You know, guys, he brought to mind a memory of mine that for 22 years, my mom would travel down from the Kansas City area to visit me in prison, you know, once or twice a year. And it was always difficult. And I can't imagine what a mother goes through to do that. You know, that's got to be difficult to go see your only child in prison for that long. And so after I got out, it was a long time before she wanted to go back in with me to one of the events. I finally talked her into it just a couple of years ago, and I talked her into coming back in for an excellence in etiquette event. And so we sat at the table and we got to have lunch with the guys, and she just fell in love with all the guys on the inside. She kept crying, and I had to go over there and reprimand her a couple of times. I'm like, Mom, look, here's the deal. No hugging in prison. I don't care if your mother, the CEO, you don't get a pass on the no hugging rule. And so there's a couple more times when I busted her on that, but I'm gonna tell you, she has talked about that day and she continues to ask about those guys. And so it's amazing how PEP impacts people, even people who are really prejudiced about coming back into prison. She did not want to do that, but she was so blessed by doing it.
What a great story. Speaking of etiquette, we've obviously had some amazing people on that represent just a full spectrum of the people who serve with us. Brandon, are we ready for that etiquette one? Because I'd like to maybe cue that up a little bit.
Yeah, we're good to go. So whenever
Perfect.
you're ready to play it.
You know, Brian, we have some pretty amazing friends. Everybody who's been on that call on today has been really, they're busy people. They're active. They've lived their life well. They've lived their life long and hard. But it's also really special too when we can reach out to people that are so well known. And one of our most appreciated classes by both our participants, but also by our volunteers, is a program on etiquette. And I'd love for us to show a video, and then at the end, or unless you want to cue it up now, maybe tell a little bit of story about how important this person is to our guys.
Ready. You know, Edward, I'm going to tell you what, probably no single person has impacted so many men as Colleen Rickenbacker, renowned author on etiquette, also the etiquette coach for the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. She has come into prison with us for about 10 years, teaches an etiquette class to the guys. And I'll tell you what, probably no single individual, no human being strikes as much fear and love with the guys as she does. And I'll give you an example of that. We had an event in Las Colinas a few years ago, and we showcased some of our entrepreneurs, and we invited our volunteers to come listen to our guys stand up and deliver their pitch at the Four Seasons. And I had a couple of release participants working the door, handing out name badges and checking everybody in. And one of the guys came running up to me, and he just had terror on his face. And he said, Colleen's here. And I go, yeah, so what's the problem? And he goes, my shoes don't match my belt. And I go, it's going to be okay. She told you that poof, she would show up when you had some sort of a fashion faux pas. And so you should have known that she was coming. But I'll tell you, it's such a great mixture of adoration, love, and fear that she instills in the hearts of our guys.
Yeah, she really does. And she's, she has so many things to do. But when you and I talked and I reached out to her, her first answer was yes. Those are the kind of people you want to be hanging out with. And those are the people that we get to surround ourselves as an organization every day, from a Mike Watts to a John Crabb to a Melvin to a Colleen. I mean, these are the people we're surrounded by constantly. And I just want to do a shout out. If you haven't, when we get back on the inside, hopefully in spring or summer, if you haven't been in for a while, get re-engaged. We need you around. And if you are watching this and you haven't come in, throw all your fears aside. You can walk in with Brian and myself, but we just want to encourage you to do it because you matter. And there's a lot of people that matter, but you matter. Brandon, we have the next person queued up? Speaking of, well, before I say that, because I don't want to give it away yet.
We're going to go to one of our great volunteers, Allison Schlender. She's going to share a memory, but obviously before she does, she has to do something special.
All right.
Back of the room.
Back of the room. Uh-oh, that looks weird.
Wow. I didn't know she could move like that.
Yeah, who knows what happened. But that's okay, because we definitely want to share her. She has a great memory of PEP.
I hope it's not like that one, fast.
Yeah. She had that shimmy shake going on there, didn't she?
And the cat jumping in the thing and stayed there.
Yeah, that's classic. Allison has been involved with PEP since, back in the Hamilton days, probably late 2007, 8, something like that. Executive of Coca-Cola, has had a huge impact on so many of our guys, and continues to be super involved and is at the ready with a moment's call.
Hi, my name is Allison Schlender, and I've been a PEP volunteer for the past 14 years. I wanted to share with you one of my most favorite experiences that happened actually on the outside of the walls, which is I was a business plan advisor to a young man named Victor Corona about 6 years ago. I never had the opportunity to meet him because it was a long distance situation where I was not going to the unit at the time. I was fortunate enough to meet him at a later event in person, and since that time I've been able to connect with him on social media, and he's moved to California. And what I've seen through social media is that he's running the business that we worked on in prison. He is successful at the business we worked on in prison. He is a father, he is a husband, and he is a very active member in his community and with his family. And nothing can make me more proud than seeing the success of our guys when they get out. Member in his community and with his family.
Very encouraging.
Well, that's great. You know, Allison has served in so many different roles and so many different prisons over time. Always stepped up to the plate. She's so much fun. I have actually been through TDCJ training with her, and so we're always sitting in the back and cutting up. And she's just typical of our volunteers, I think, in that they bring business acumen and great vision and ideas to the table, but they also bring a heart and fun. Oh my gosh, it was so much fun. So what a great example of somebody, and I love it that she brought up Victor Corona. He was actually a member of the class that I was in, so I know him well.
Also, Victor Corona was our first, we started something this year called the Second Chance Stories, and Victor Corona was our first Second Chance story highlighting his success.
Victor's doing great. He's out in California, has taken over the running of his family business, got remarried, had some kids, and great dad. I check in with him from time to time. And so he is one of our awesome success stories.
Well, Brian, as you know, it's always back to the room before you get the mic, but we're doing a little bit of backwards because we had some technical things, but we now have a back of the room experience for somebody who's already spoken. I am never dancing again unless Brandon does a video for me. There's just too many good movers besides me. This white boy can't dance. Can I hear a couple amens?
Amen. Amen. We're singing in that one too.
Yeah, I saw that.
You know what? I'm gonna do something special here right now. I'm gonna say hello to everybody if I can. But maybe I can't. I don't know why I guess I can't. I was gonna try to say hello to everybody, but there we go. How about that right there?
There we go.
Hello, everybody.
There's Brandon behind the scenes, the voice.
Behind the scenes, Brandon. Hey, you know what? We have a great couple up here in Dallas that, loves PEP and they do great things. And so they had something that they wanted to share as well. They also skimped out on us on the dancing. So we'll have to make sure that they make up for it later on. But this is this is our friends Jimmy and Judy.
Hi, I'm Jimmy, and this is my wife, Judy. We were asked to tell what PEP means to us.
PEP provides men serious tools with which to completely turn around their own lives. Rather than giving these men a fish, PEP teaches them how to fish, then supports them as they learn to do so. It truly is helping people help themselves. It's not a handout, it's a hand up. The ripple effects into these graduates' families' lives and their communities cannot be overstated. Rather than continuing to be a drain on society, these men become positive contributors to society. This is the real deal.
To me, it's a chance to give back to men who are trying to change their lives. We first attended a PEP event at the Sanders Estes unit, and it was the first graduation ceremonies they had had. It was over 5 years ago. I fell in love with the program that first time and have been volunteering monthly ever since. I was humbled by what I saw these men doing and believed I could be a part of this from that day forward. I even started teaching some of the business classes and mentoring some of the graduates after they were enrolled. This volunteering has changed my life, and as hopefully my teaching and helping the participants has changed theirs.
Judy and Jimmy are just amazing people. We love them. They are, not only do they care about those guys, but they actually, Brian, I know you know this, but they try to open up doors for us too for funding and introduce us to organizations that care about what we're doing. So shout out to Jimmy and Judy, definitely. Brandon?
Brian, you're on mute. I think Brian's trying to say something.
Yeah, it's not often we can get me muted. Sometimes maybe I should have held on to that and let you benefit from it. I was just going to say Jimmy has stepped into a role of an instructor for us on the inside, and he was doing that until COVID slammed the door shut. But even then, we've created some video content of him leading a class, and he's just stepped into that educator role for PEP. That's another opportunity we have for folks who would like to get involved, is creating video content to educate our guys, but there's also going to be more roles for that as we go forward. We're looking to build a VMS, a video management system that will be added content for our guys to do research on the inside. Can you imagine if we had experts in myriad different fields like legal structure of a business or marketing or accounting, and we had experts speaking about different pieces of it, so our guys could go do research on that video management system? I think that's a direction we want to go. So if there's volunteers out there who are interested in taking on such a role, we're going to have a lot of opportunity for that coming up.
Which brings
That's
up
awesome,
a good
Brian. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Edward. But Brian was talking about how we're looking at this video management system, and we have pivoted because of COVID, but that doesn't mean that we're going to revert back to what we were doing. This actually is propelling us into the future. And we've got our director of in-prison initiatives, Pat McGee. He did a video for us kind of explaining how the in-prison team pivoted. So let's run to that real quick, if you don't mind, Edward.
Do they have a back of the room moment there?
Unfortunately, he doesn't, but I'm sure somebody in that Houston office could go grab him and force him into it.
Well, I thought we had something about a doggy race.
Oh, you know what? I bet we do. We don't have that queued up yet.
Okay, then let's go ahead and cue it. There we go.
Pat McGee, aka Patty Cake, aka Pat Down, aka Precious. A little bit what's been going on within prison in 2020. So as you know, we started the year out inside prison. Somewhere around March, we were driven out of prison. So they kind of killed our normal operations, and we kind of pivoted. One of the things we've done during the whole COVID is create a Leadership Academy correspondence course, which has allowed us to continue to recruit and continue to serve the men who have interest in PEP and that PEP has identified as appropriate candidates. Some of you may have also been invited into partaking and being a part of the whole evaluation process of the Leadership Academy course. And we've basically taken our 12-week course inside and put it into 2 modules, which is spread out over 2 months. And the guys are receiving, sending back. We're sending to some of you to evaluate, and you're writing welcome letters to PEP. And I believe that the traction with this program has been great to this point. And we've also been looking at other parts of the program, being that we don't know how long this is going to last. And we've taken initiative to kind of introduce them to the business portion of PEP. So after the guys have completed the modules in the Leadership Academy correspondence course, we've started with the intro to personal purpose first. And from there, we've gone to the 4-box or the 4-square initial business concept with the guys. And basically, what we're trying to do with that is create a virtual think tank between you all, where we will receive this information, and based on, if you've ever been to a think tank event inside prison, it's basically based upon you sitting one-on-one, going over the person's ideas, and based upon feasibility, originality, kind of give them feedback on their concept and your idea input on should you go through, change something, or not so much of a good idea. And that's kind of what we want to recreate on the outside virtually, where you may not see the person, but you will see the work. And from there, we will send them market research request form, which they will, again, send back to us, request market research information, and we'll send it. So before they even get to a facility, bail, or Estes, they will, in essence, have started to create their business plan. And not knowing how long this is going to go on, there's other things that we're looking at, because we believe that there's a portion of the program we can continue to deliver. The only thing that we won't be able to deliver through the mail is the character development. And what we've done with that is we've created a situation where these guys will release and basically have 2 life caddies. So they'll have the reentry life caddy who's helping them with their basic needs day to day, but they'll also have one of the in-prison team staff members who will also walk beside them for 90 days. And it's going to cover everything from personal purpose, 10 driving values, and building a positive network. So for 90 days, they have 2 groups of guys walking beside them, one tending to their heart and the other tending to their head. But a combined effort, which hopefully is helping these guys to get to the path of where we hope all of our participants will go. And that is faith, family, and financial freedom.
Oh, that's such a great thing. I mean, Brian, you have put together a great team. People have stayed the course, they've innovated, and they've never lost sight of what this is about. This isn't about just raising money. This isn't just about PEP. It's about transforming lives. It's about restoring families, and it's about rebuilding communities. Thank you for your leadership. This could have been a completely different year-end conversation, but you have kept the positive tempo up. This staff that I'm looking at, the development, I've never seen them have a bad day during this time. They have kept the course. It's really reason to dance.
You know, it really is, Edward. You know, early on in this COVID environment, we put out the message that some organizations, some programs are too important to push pause, and PEP is definitely one of those. And we have not pushed pause. Now, we have retooled and rethought and went back to the drawing board and resequenced some of the things that we do. But we have the perfect people in place to do that, to rethink that and make sure that we still have all the ingredients to the special sauce of PEP, even though we may not do it in the same sequence we have in the past. You know, Edward, so many prison ministries are sitting at home on their hands with nothing to do, and PEP has not stopped. We have graduated almost the exact same number of men this year as we did last year. We're sitting in a solid position financially. We have rethought how we're going to tool this program and prepare for next year. I'm so excited about not only where we're at today at the end of 2020, but where we're going in 2021.
Yeah.
Well,
you, sir. Brent?
you know, this is a reason to dance. This is a reason to have fun. And as you mentioned, something special happened. We had a participant telethon a couple weeks ago, and our in-prison manager, Gami Hasso at the Estes unit, was challenged to race Pat in a special race that we do inside of prison. Brian, do you want to kind of set this up, and then we'll go to that video?
Yeah, you know, we had a participant telethon where our life caddies, our case management team, were calling out to the guys, just checking in. We did that starting last year, just reaching out and showing the love and making sure people were engaged and try to reinvigorate and stir things up. So this year we did it similar to this. We did it live on YouTube. We had some components to get people more charged up. And we also put it out there that if any of our participants, our graduates of our program who are out, wanted to make a donation, they could have any of the staff do some fun stuff. And so, you know, since I'm a graduate of the program too, that goes for me as well. So I jumped on a call and I made a donation to PEP, and I challenged Pat McGee, our in-person initiative manager, and Gami Hasso, the leader of the Estes unit, to what we call a dirty dog race. And so if you've ever seen your dog that maybe has an itch in strange places, kind of scoot across the floor, then you know you've got the premise for this. And so Pat McGee and Gami Hasso in a race down the aisle at the Houston PEP office. This is just great TV. Challenge on. Meeting the challenge. Here they go. Those of you who are still online.
Okay. So this is how we're gonna do it. We're gonna start it where Tim's office at. And y'all gonna race it all the way into my door.
Somebody give an example. You gonna go? Oh, you're gonna like this. Oh, that's all right.
David's a master at it.
You know what? I'm getting on.
I ain't true.
Hey, I will count on 3, all right?
Yeah.
What, you give him a handicap?
Give him a jump.
Okay, on 3, okay?
You got 6 for me.
1, 2, 3, go! 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 Go!
There you go. Slow, man. Hey, getting old, y'all. Bro, the finish line was over there.
You know, it's so we can't have any fun around this office.
Well, it's important, Brian, because when a year is hard, it's hard, but there's also times for celebration, and we have tried to have some fun. And speaking of that, today is really about just reaching out and having fun, reminding everybody it has been a challenging year, but there's a lot of reason to dance. And so I'm going to put out one challenge right now since Brandon decided to show his handsome face.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I want to call out our board members. You got to meet a couple of them. For those of you who are watching, most of you have met our board members our governing board members when you go inside and get to meet them. But they care about this program, and it has been a challenging but a good year. We know we're going into 2021 with twice as much work to do. We have a group of guys who graduated, but they didn't get that high touch special sauce from our executive volunteers through the year. So they still need more of our DNA poured into them in 2021. And then the show still goes on. We're still having graduating classes, and we're looking forward to getting back in full hands-on. Hopefully spring, summer, we'll let you guys know. But our governing board knows that we have twice as much work next year. And so they've put up another challenge. I mean, they dug deep, and they have given us $125,000 that we can do a dollar-to-dollar match between now and Christmas. For every dollar it's raised, they can do it. But here's something even better than that. And Brian, I know you know this, but I'm going to lead to the challenge. When you saw that dog race, they had reached out to our participants and they gave them a challenge. And they raised about $20,000 that they're willing to do too, because this program is so important. They want to see that DNA poured into the classes that graduated in 2020 without the high touch, but also into 2021. And they come up with about $20,000 for every dollar that is raised today through Christmas. They will also be part of that. So we have about $150,000, but this is what Brandon did. Brandon is a graduate of the program. He knows the transformational power. And for anybody, and this is a big stretch, this isn't for everybody, this is for that special individual. If anybody will take that challenge and write a $25,000 check today, I know it's a lot, there's a couple people that can do that, we will be able to match that with the board money as well as from our participants, the guys that care about this program. But this means so much personally to Brandon and his family. See that beautiful beard, that very millennial cool beard? That has taken him years to grow. But if somebody will take that challenge today and send in a gift, and Brandon will put up the link shortly, Brandon will actually take a video of him shaving off his beard in the name of this program, because these guys matter. Brandon, I know it means a lot. It is not easy to do what you did. I can barely even get a 5 o'clock shadow, and to be able to do what you did means a lot. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about why you're willing to do that, that'd be great as we're closing up our time together and challenge people. There's one or two of you. If you're planning on giving, give now, give today between the end of or between Christmas. It will get matched, and Brandon will sacrifice something. Brandon?
Yeah, so, my beard does mean a lot to me, but PEP means a lot more than my beard does. And that's because PEP transformed my life. I went into prison in 2014, very selfish, and a person who was focused on everything that when the spotlight was on me, that's what I wanted. And when I got a postcard in the mail that said, "Hey, you're invited to apply for something called the Prison Entrepreneurship Program," I was excited, but I had second thoughts, and I wasn't sure. I was like, well, I've started my own businesses before, and I've been successful. So do I really need entrepreneurship? I attribute a lot to my fiance, who's now my wife, who at the time was just like, well, what's it going to hurt? And so I did apply, and I had the mentality that, well, okay, I have knowledge, I have experience, I can go in there and help people. What some people don't realize is this is a 9-month program, and to get to the business part, you got to get, and that's the last 6 months. You got to go for the first 3 months, and you've heard some people talk about it. And that's the character transformation. That is the character development. That's the leadership development, and that is exactly what I needed in my life. It completely made me just drop any wall that I might have had and really open up and talk about my insecurities. And I shared this with somebody yesterday that, when you get ready to go home in PEP, they do something called a pray out. And that's an opportunity for your PEP brothers to just talk to you and speak life into you, and then you to speak life into all the other PEP brothers. And I had a great pray out, but at the end of my pray out, I shared an epiphany that I had is, you know, there's people in the world who pay tens of thousands of dollars to get what we get inside of PEP, which is not only the one-on-one and the high touch interaction with business executives, but we get to be removed from the world. We don't have to worry about a job. We don't have to worry about covering our rent or whatever. The state's paying for that. All we have to do really is focus on us and focus on the reasons why we went to prison. And that's priceless. And then you add on what we get from PEP. It completely revolutionized not only my life, but the life of my family and my community. And so that's why I offered it up. You know, if somebody wants to write a check for $25,000, this beard is definitely not as important as the transformation that PEP is doing.
I love that story, Brandon. Thank you so much for sharing that and sharing your passion about how much PEP means to you. I wanted to kind of double back on that. Several times I've shared this with our volunteers. In 2007, when I was first introduced to PEP, was at the Hamilton unit as a peer educator. I invested myself into class 7 and saw those guys to graduation. And as I was sitting there at their graduation ceremony, I got to sit with the PEP staff and a couple of the volunteers. And I remember just crying, thinking, this is an incredible way to live life, changing lives. And I remember crying to God, and I just said, God, I don't ever want to leave the company of your people that are making a big difference in the world, just like this. Please continue to surround me with people who are making a difference in this world. And he is still answering that call today. He's answering it in Brandon and Allison and John and Edward and Roger and Al and every one of our volunteers. He is answering it in our participants. It is an honor to come in here every day. You know, I've always heard that if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And I feel like that right now. So many of our volunteers understand that. So many of our participants, it's an honor to be a part of this team.
Well, we've only got 5 minutes left. We had a ton of content that we wanted to share with you all today. We didn't get to that, but you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we'll make sure we share that content with you. Make sure that you're able to see some of that, those videos that we created. But we have a special video from one of our family liaisons to kind of talk about how the family liaisons and the family program has been working during COVID. And then we're going to go straight into another one of our executives dancing to the back of the room and dancing because of 2020.
Perfect. Love it.
Hi, my name is Tara Freeman, and I'm a family liaison with PEP. Just like the rest of PEP, the family liaisons have been significantly impacted by COVID-19. One of our greatest responsibilities is connecting with the families of all the participants and getting them to graduation. But with COVID-19, we haven't had the traditional graduations. Another challenge that we have faced is that naturally, the families have so many questions pertaining to COVID-19 that unfortunately, we have just not been able to answer. One of our favorite things as a family liaison is that before we connect with the families, we get to go into the unit and meet the guys one-on-one. Unfortunately, with COVID-19, we haven't been able to do that either. And that's an extra special thing we do because when we call the families and we talk to them, it is so much easier to connect when we know their face. So it's been very disappointing to us that we have not been able to do that. However, despite these challenges, we are doing everything in our power to strengthen our department. We have taken this time to meet one-on-one every week to develop better ways in which we can serve the families. One of the things we're doing is we're working on our family website. Just like everyone else involved in PEP, prison is one of our favorite places to go, and we have been so disappointed this year that we have not been able to be in the unit like we normally would be. However, we are doing everything we can to ensure that when that day comes and graduation comes, that we are able to serve the families better than we have ever served them before.
Absolutely love every one of our family liaisons. They pour themselves out to build a bridge between our participants and our family members. And a lot of times there's some stress and strains from things in the past, but they do an admirable job of building those bridges. And we realize that the family is a holistic unit. We can't just address one piece of it. We've got to address the whole. And so there's a lot of work to be done. And we're in this together. We're building communities, we're restoring families, and we're transforming lives.
Muted. All right, let's see it back to the room from one of our much loved executive volunteers and one of the hosts of last year's Bar Board of Business.
Amen.
Back in the room, Jessica and B-Man. Oh, we'll go to the back of the room.
Where's Jessica?
We'll go to the back of the room.
Where's Jessica? Oh, there she is.
That is so awesome. It's awesome how Jessica brings her son into the mix, and he has a blast doing this. Jessica was also the winner of a lip sync competition that we had on inside. She just rocked the house singing to Bad Medicine. And so I still to this day refer to her as Bad Medicine. Yeah, bless her heart, no personality at all, wallflower. You can just see that. She is a public speaker, a corporate speaker, travels around the country, is doing a great job of that, and just rocks the house everywhere she goes.
Well, I know we missed some videos, Brandon. I'm glad you'll get those up there. I want to thank everybody who put together a back of the room video and just all the yeses we had. And sorry we ran out of time. We could keep going a couple more hours, but I think people might tune out. Brian, I want to give you the last word, but I do want to say this. I want to thank our volunteers and I want to thank our donors. I want to thank you for continuing to keep course with us. We could not do this without you. You mean the world to us. We also want to thank our board of directors. You guys have been, your love and sacrifice for this program has been amazing. Our advisory council, thank you. And Brian and I also want to take a moment. I want to thank the development team. They're all just focused right now, as I can see. And I think somebody just took their, oh, Brandon did. They just took their picture down. And I'm going to go in no order. I'm going to go in the order that I can see things. But I want to say thank you, Al. I'm so thankful that you're on the team, and Roger and Allison and Jonathan and Brandon. I want to thank you guys for your commitment. It has been a joy to lead you through this challenging, beautiful year. And Brian Kelly, we all collectively say we want to thank you. We couldn't have asked for a better leader for a time such as this. With that, turn it over to you, Mr. Kelly.
Well, I'll sign up by thanking everybody who joined us today, thanking this team for their tireless efforts and everything they do. This has been a challenging year, but we are too important to push pause. We must continue on. This mission means more than any of us individually. And so we are going to march on. We're going to pivot. We're going to look at ways we can automate PEP and bring it to more people on the inside. We may do things a little bit different than we have in the past, but we're going to be able to impact more. We're going to push some of this stuff outside. We're looking for a volunteer center right now so we can get our two great groups together, our participants and our impactful volunteers. And we're going to look at ways where we can automate and then eventually replicate. Our future is so bright. We probably ought to put on shades, but in the meantime, we just wanted to celebrate where we've been, where we're at, and where we're going. You know, you said it well, Edward. COVID did not get the best of us. It brought out the best in us, and we're looking forward to what's in store tomorrow.
Hear, hear.
All right, well, Brian, why don't you dance us out?
Put me on high gear. I love that. Is that not how you wash dishes at your house? I don't understand.
I don't know. Yeah.
That's how I would break dishes at my house.
I'm just sad we don't have the audio.
Wow.
Well, thank you, everybody.
So I knew my dancing would be epic or maybe epileptic. I'm not sure.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you, everybody.
Have fun today.
Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy New Year.
Amen.